On the glittering streets of Las Vegas, ruthless gunmen overpower defenseless victims and haul away a motherload of cash. Following a trail from exotic dance clubs to the tranquil suburbs, authorities finally put down the reckless robbers. But a daring jailbreak leads the FBI to a violent showdown with a man so desperate he'll risk his own family to get what he wants.
In Las Vegas, a gang of robbers target an ATM repository and hit the jackpot. They take over $1 million in cash, the largest heist in Las Vegas history. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. The robbery was well planned and precisely executed. The FBI and local police struggled to identify and track a desperate criminal whose tendency for violence turned a robbery into a case of murder.
Las Vegas, a gambler's paradise, where even criminals sometimes try their luck. On the night of December 21st, 1998, a Las Vegas couple and their 18-year-old sister-in-law prepare to go to work. The family owns a janitorial service that cleans commercial buildings. Suddenly, two masked gunmen rush up and force them inside their own van. For the cleaning crew, an ordinary workday has just become a night of terror. The gunmen blindfold and tie up their three captives.
Well, shut her up! What are you looking at? Sit still. Sit still. Don't move.
They can hear the gunman talking to a female accomplice on a radio.
Let's go. Car 2, are you in position?
The gunmen seem to know the janitor's routine. They drive around until 11 p.m., the time they are scheduled to begin work at the Bank of America building. The gunmen even park where the janitors routinely park their van.
Get out. Let's go. Your feet down. Let's go, girl. Get out of here. Next.
The building is Bank of America's central ATM repository in Las Vegas.
Let's go.
Cash from 1,200 automated teller machines, often totaling more than $1 million, is delivered there each night. The gunmen force the janitors to use their key card and access code to unlock the door. This bypasses the bank's alarm system.
Get in there. Get in there. Let's take it. Get over there. Come on. Sit right here. Sit down. Look, turn around. Turn around.
The gunmen release the couple and order them to clean the building as they normally would.
Turn around. Look.
They keep the wife's sister hostage to ensure the couple complies with their orders.
She is dead. You hear me? She's dead. Act like you're cleaning. Get out! Now! Get out.
At 11:30 p.m., an armored car arrives to pick up the night's cash deposit. Following a standard security protocol, the two guards first call the bank security company to ask if there have been any unauthorized entries.
We're checking out the parking lot, the only thing.
The alarm company reports that the only people inside are the janitors. The only vehicle the guards see in the parking lot is the janitor's van. Inside, everything seems completely normal. The janitors are too terrified to say anything. The life of an 18-year-old girl is at stake. The guards open the vault containing $1,088,000, shrink-wrapped and ready for pickup. Suddenly,
Get down! Get down! Get on the floor! Get your hands up!
as the gunmen disarm the guards,
Stay down.
one of them accidentally discharges his weapon.
Come on, let's
The bullet ricochets off the floor and hits one guard in the chest.
go. Come on, let's go.
What happened? Oh, been shot. Hang on.
One of the guards calls for an ambulance.
12. My partner's down. He's been shot. I need an ambulance quick, please. Please.
FBI Special Agent Henry Schlumpf arrives at the scene. He heads the investigation.
Everybody was very scared, and it took a little while to calm everybody down and to get a story as to what exactly happened. And the descriptions that we got, because the subjects were masked, were very general in nature. We were looking for 2 males who were either white, black, or Hispanic, 6 foot, 6'3", and about 200 pounds. That was basically all the description that we had.
With little to go on, every detail is important.
The janitors told us that when the subjects first entered the bank, they were a little taken aback at the number of video cameras that were in the bank. That indicated to us that they had not been inside before.
This suggests that the robbery may not have been an inside job. Agents interview a truck driver who witnessed the robbers leaving the depository.
Turned over to here, I saw 2 guys just
The truck driver was making a late-night delivery to a nearby store.
He saw 2 men run out of the depository and throw some bags in the back of a white Chevy S10 pickup truck.
and they just took off in that direction.
Authorities begin searching for the getaway truck.
I put out the announcement for all responding units to look for a white Chevy S10 pickup truck. It wasn't very long after that vehicle was found about a quarter of a mile from the depository, just parked on a residential street.
Investigators run the truck's plates. Ironically, the truck is a police maintenance vehicle that was stolen from a Las Vegas Metro Police lot 1 week earlier. Investigators begin questioning neighbors, including a woman whose home is closest to where the truck is parked.
She hadn't seen anybody get out of the pickup truck, but earlier in the evening, there had been another truck parked in the same place. And she described that as a white GMC dually, which is a pickup truck with 4 wheels on the back axle.
Agents believe the woman saw the robbers switch vehicles, a common MO for bank robbers. They issue an APB for the white GMC truck. Hours later, they receive the welcome news that the wounded guard has undergone surgery and will survive. The next day, the bank determines that a total of $1,088,000 has been stolen. To date, it is the largest bank robbery in Las Vegas history. Although FBI agents believe this was not an inside job, they cover all their bases by interviewing the armored car guards and all bank employees.
We didn't have a lot to go on. We ended up interviewing everybody who worked at the branch and everybody who worked at the armored car company and polygraphing some of them.
Although agents do not find any new information, they do rule out the employees as suspects.
Thank you.
The subjects who committed the robbery could have found out everything they needed to find out by following the armored truck around and following the guards around. And we surmised early on that that's probably exactly what they did.
With the investigation running out of leads, executives from Bank of America and the Armored Car Company decide to offer a reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the robbers. Agent Schlumpf advises them on how large the reward should be.
And I said $50,000, which was quite a lot for a bank robbery, but we were going to need to generate some public interest in this case.
Agents ask local authorities for their cooperation.
We notified the airport that we were looking for someone carrying large amounts of money. We notified all the jails to advise us if anyone tried to bail someone out with large amounts of cash.
A week after the $1 million robbery, the FBI receives a call from security at Las Vegas's McCarran Airport.
They got a telephone response from someone asking if large amounts of currency would set off the metal detectors. And they took the number down on caller ID and gave it to us.
Investigators use a reverse telephone directory to find the caller's address. Agents set up surveillance on that address, a home in the suburbs of Las Vegas.
There were people going in and out of the house about every half hour. Someone would arrive and someone else would leave. But it's curious, and I kind of like to know what's going on.
After several hours, agents decide to interview the people in the house.
Hello, how are you? I'm Investigator Davis from the Las Vegas Police Department. This is Special Agent Reed.
It was just a piano teacher who was giving half-hour lessons, and she was going to be going to Utah with about $3,000, and so she had called McCarran Airport to find out if that would set off the detectors.
The lead is a dead end. Agents are back where they started. But later that day, a woman responding to the reward poster calls the Las Vegas Metro Police. She claims to have key information about the bank robbery.
So tell me about this stripper friend of yours.
Her name's Jennifer.
The tipster tells agents about a dancer she knows who works at a local strip club.
Oh, Fuzzy Bottom. You know, over on Tampa.
Stripper
Her name is Jennifer Arden.
Her name's Jennifer.
She says Jennifer has been spending a lot of cash lately.
He was able to give us a telephone number. We traced that number to a rented trailer.
The FBI sets up surveillance on the trailer. Agents watch for any clue to the identity of the two gunmen or the location of the stolen $1 million. In a matter of minutes, a white GMC truck pulls into the driveway. It's the same make and model the robbers used as their getaway vehicle. Agents run the license plates. According to the Department of Motor Vehicles, the truck is registered in Las Vegas to Timothy Blackburn. The driver enters the house and leaves minutes later. The surveillance team immediately notifies Agent Schlumpf.
The sighting of the GMC pickup gave us enough probable cause to get a warrant for the trailer.
Moments later, a SWAT team surrounds the trailer.
To serve the warrant, we brought a lot of people with us because we knew we were looking for armed and dangerous subjects. They had already shot one person. We knocked on the door of the trailer and nobody answered, so we kicked the door open and served the search warrant.
The SWAT team finds one man in the trailer. He identifies himself as Riley Bates. He reveals that Jennifer is his girlfriend. One team of agents begins searching the trailer for evidence, while another heads to the strip club to question Jennifer.
FBI, I'd like to ask you a few questions, please.
About what?
You've been spending an awful lot of money.
the exotic dancer told us that the money was her money that she had made over the past 4 years dancing, and that she didn't know anything about a robbery or anything else.
Back at the trailer, agents continue to search for clues. In the bedroom, they find a heavy-duty combination safe. It looks brand new.
The trailer was filled with trash, and it was not the kind of place where you would expect anybody with any money to be living. And yet here they had this brand new safe they had bought.
What's the combination?
Riley claims the safe belongs to his girlfriend, and only she knows how to open it.
We'll find out.
Agent Durham, may I help you? Jennifer, what's the number to the combination of the safe in your
The agent
cell?
asks Jennifer for the combination,
It's not my safe, it's my boyfriend's.
but
It's not
she
my
says
safe.
Riley
How would I
has
know
it.
the combination?
Did you hear that? She said she doesn't know what the combination to the safe is. The safe belongs to her boyfriend.
So we go back to Riley Bates and tell him that his girlfriend said he had the combination, so then he told us the combination.
Yep, that's it.
Inside the safe, the FBI finds $50,000 in cash and bags of marijuana.
Selling pot.
Riley insists that he made the money by selling marijuana and claims he knows nothing about the robbery. Agents strongly suspect he is lying. But with over $1 million missing, where is the rest of the money? Las Vegas, December 1998. A team of violent bank robbers shoot an armored car guard and flee with more than $1 million. A tip leads the FBI to a rented trailer and a brand new safe containing $50,000.
Bunch of cash in here.
Jennifer Arden, an exotic dancer, claims she earned the money dancing. Her boyfriend, Riley Bates, says he made the money selling marijuana. Now agents must find the rest of the money. Over $1 million in cash. The FBI calls in one of their top interviewers, Special Agent Brett Shields, to try to get the truth from Riley.
Where's that money from? You're getting a lot of trouble here.
We tried to remove him from his comfort zone and took him out to my car where he's a little bit more on edge rather than at the comfort of his own home.
John Pye. Yeah. You're gonna get in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, Riley Bates was a shifty little guy. He knew he was in a tough position because we'd found the money in the trailer.
He tried to maintain that it was profits from the marijuana that was found in the safe. It wasn't believable that he was that successful and he's still living in a single wide trailer.
You're gonna be in a lot of trouble here, you know that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We had gotten convinced that we can help him out on the marijuana charges and he doesn't want to get tied up into the $1 million bank robbery.
He said, I didn't commit any robbery. So now Agent Shields and I know, we're probably about 2 questions away from finding out who did. So we said, okay, Riley, you didn't commit the robbery, but I believe you know who did commit the robbery. And he said, my brother Robert and his friend Tim.
It's my brother and his friend Tim. Really? Yeah. Well, where is Tim right now?
I don't know where they are right now.
Riley claims that he doesn't know where his brother Robert is.
Where are they?
But I don't know where they are.
But inside the trailer, agents find gaming chips and receipts from the Luxor, a casino on the Las Vegas Strip.
So we sent a couple agents to the Luxor, and they contacted management, and sure enough, Robert Bates was staying there.
The hotel's head of security tells agents that Robert Bates has been spending heavily, paying for everything in
That's
cash.
located where, sir?
That's in the southeast town. You see the types of items that they're purchasing.
Judging from his guest portfolio at the Luxor, Robert Bates had been just partying constantly since the night of the robbery.
The 2 agents stake out Bates's hotel room until he returns.
he was on some kind of drugs. There's no point in trying to interview someone if they're stoned on whatever he was on.
Bring your hand back, Mike.
Inside Bates's hotel room, agents find drugs, a gun, and $5,000 in cash. With nearly $1 million still missing, agents now concentrate on the second suspect named by Riley Bates, his brother's friend, Tim Blackburn.
We set up surveillance on Timothy Blackburn's house. So we had police and FBI agents surrounding the house.
They decide to approach Blackburn, but proceed cautiously. He's been investigated for armed robbery in the past and is considered highly dangerous.
Tim Blackburn was about 26 years old, 6'3", 230 pounds. He was a martial arts expert, and he liked fighting, and he liked guns. He was an accomplished marksman.
The FBI's criminal apprehension team moves into position. Special Agent Castle Nishimoto is a member of this elite tactical unit.
My job was to watch the streets. I knew he was armed, but I wasn't particularly scared at that point because I felt confident that I would be able to spot him, and from where I was watching.
The agents were just approaching the house to make contact with the people inside when a car comes driving down the road.
The SUV suddenly accelerates towards the agents. The driver loses control.
And the vehicle stops, and a man jumps out and runs away. We assumed it was Blackburn who had run out of the car.
He was jumping the fence, the walls in the back of the house and so forth, and trying to get away. And so from that point on, we began to search the area.
The driver of the vehicle is Blackburn's sister-in-law. Authorities take her into custody. The FBI and Las Vegas police launch a house-to-house search for Blackburn. Two blocks away, a canine unit picks up the fugitive's scent.
Come on out! Got me. Roll it, your hands! Don't leave us in the dark, come on!
Blackburn was found by a canine unit hiding under a deck in someone's backyard. He had a mask and he had an ankle holster.
Fortunately for the canine officer, the holster was empty.
There's nothing in it, man.
Blackburn had lost his gun jumping over fences.
Hands behind your back.
Sorry, we got him. We're taking him inside for questioning.
I don't have him. We're gonna find this.
Investigators search the suspect's home while agents question Tim Blackburn and his wife Sophia.
Because I know that you know what's going on. I know that you know where the money is. Can you tell us where the money is now, where it's been put?
They offer Blackburn a reduced sentence if he will admit to the robbery.
I don't have any money. If you don't see it, it's not here.
He refuses. Investigators continue to search the house.
An evidence response search is very methodical. It's not just everybody running around to where they think something might be hidden. Everything is photographed first, and then the search progresses room by room, and then the outside is usually done at the end. They find some flex cuffs, like were the same type that the janitors had been bound with, and they found some walkie-talkies and some other surveillance equipment.
I got something here.
Early that morning, in Blackburn's backyard, they find several duffel bags inside the doghouse.
I just couldn't believe that he put the money in the doghouse. And then on second thought, I thought, well, maybe that might not be a bad place to put the money, since nobody looks there. It's just an innocuous place.
Investigators recover more than $900,000, 90% of the stolen money.
It took about 10 hours to count it. So by 4 o'clock that afternoon, we knew we had the money from the Bank of America robbery.
The U.S. District Court charges Tim Blackburn and Robert Bates with bank robbery, kidnapping, carjacking, and using a firearm in the commission of a violent crime. They are held at the North Las Vegas Detention Center. But the FBI's work is unfinished. They believe that Blackburn and Bates were not working alone.
We knew that there was probably someone else involved in the robbery, that it was too much logistically for only 2 people to do.
You know, your husband was...
Agents suspect Sophia Blackburn might be involved because her story does not seem credible.
I was at the house several times to talk to Sophia Blackburn. Sophia claimed to have no knowledge of the robbery, and in fact, she provided an alibi for Tim Blackburn on the night of the robbery. She said she was with him the whole night. She couldn't account for the money that they found or the other items that were in the house. She was worried because her husband was in jail and she had 2 young daughters to raise herself. So she was claimed to be cooperative, but she would have these stories that were in no way even close to plausible. But that's what she was going to stick with. And, there was not going to be really any way to talk her out of them. There was no way that she was ever going to give us any information that would implicate Tim Blackburn.
On August 11th, 1999, 7 months after the $1 million robbery, Sophia visits her husband in jail.
You can't tell him where I am.
She secretly uses a tiny tool on her keychain to loosen the screws securing the divider window.
That's good. So my babies are doing all right, huh?
Babies are great.
As the visiting room guard leaves to escort a prisoner, Blackburn removes the bulletproof glass.
Tim Blackburn climbed through the window and dived into the sally port. The one door closed and the second door opened before anybody realized what he had done. As soon as the second door opened, he was just climbing over everybody in the sally port and he ran outside.
Sophia retrieves a gun she had hidden earlier and tosses it to Blackburn.
All the alarms are going off, and guards outside knew that there was a jailbreak.
As the Blackburns try to get away, they face startled guards in a violent shootout. August 11th, 1999. Timothy Blackburn, accused of the biggest bank robbery in Las Vegas history, breaks out of jail with the help of his wife, Sophia. FBI Special Agent Henry Schlumpf.
They tried to arrest Blackburn, but he shoots at them. This pickup truck that's sitting in the lot was going to be his escape vehicle. But the guards are returning fire.
Blackburn is forced to abandon the truck. Suddenly, his wife Sophia roars up in an Isuzu Rodeo. In a matter of seconds, they are out of range.
It was hard to believe that Blackburn had actually escaped from the jail because although a lot of people want to escape from the jail and many attempted, very few actually get away. But it just pointed out again how unpredictable Blackburn was.
Looking for leads, FBI agents Henry Schlumpf and Brett Shields tracked down the suspect's relatives.
Blackburn was going to have to go someplace to get some help.
Agents check out an apartment building where Blackburn's sister-in-law lives. Parked out front, they find the same Isuzu Rodeo used in the jailbreak. They run the plates and discover it belongs to Blackburn's wife, Sophia.
We see the truck in the parking lot. So now our heart's racing just a little bit more. Adrenaline's pumping. Since he was in federal custody, it falls under the U.S. Marshal's jurisdiction as well. So I called some Marshal friends of mine. We're sitting on this truck not knowing if he's going to come back out to this truck, and we're going to have a confrontation right there before the marshals get there.
After a few tense moments, U.S. Marshals arrive to help FBI agents raid the apartment.
Step outside. Can we go inside? Search your premises?
But Blackburn isn't there.
Or may have been used in the commission of a crime.
Agents ask the fugitive's sister-in-law where Tim Blackburn is. She says she doesn't know.
This could be extremely
They ask why
serious.
Sophia's Isuzu is there and not her own car, which authorities know is a Nissan Pathfinder.
I'll be as bad for you as him.
She claims it's in the shop, but her story does not check out. Agents suspect Blackburn is on the run with her Pathfinder.
Can you tell us where it is?
No, I have no idea where it's at.
For the next week, the FBI searches for Blackburn, his wife, and their 2 little girls. They come up empty. Then, 9 days after the jailbreak, a Las Vegas police helicopter spots a Nissan Pathfinder parked in the desert. A family of 4 is nearby. The FBI and Las Vegas police arrive in force.
Now we have no shot.
Special Agent Castle Nishimoto leads the FBI SWAT team.
We were located on a ridgeline quite a bit above them, and there was a valley between us.
We can see some people about half a mile away, too far away to identify them.
If law enforcement tries to move any closer, they will have to move through an unprotected open space.
We had to keep our distance from these people, because if it was Blackburn, he is a marksman.
Nevertheless, Agent Schlumpf daringly volunteers to drive down for a closer look.
It did take some courage, because the only coverage he had would have been the snipers. And they had at least 300 or 400 yards shot, as I recall.
As Agent Schlumpf gets nearer, he can finally make out faces.
I could recognize that it wasn't Blackburn. It wasn't anybody who we were looking for.
Authorities have hit another dead end. But Agent Schlumpf also realizes that authorities cannot continue to respond on such a massive scale.
There must have been 100 vehicles in this valley. All the SWAT vehicles and evidence response team vehicles and police cruisers. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, we can't be doing this every time someone says Tim Blackburn. I mean, nobody's got the resources and we're going to burn ourselves out.
The next night, law enforcement pursues the dangerous fugitive with every available resource.
We had about 40 agents, police, marshals, Henderson Police Department, detention center people. We got everybody together, and we divided up into teams. And what we were going to do was interview every one of Blackburn's associates, search every house, find every vehicle that he could possibly have access to.
U.S. Marshals tell the FBI they have spotted the fugitive.
We arrive right as they're taking down what they believe is Tim Blackburn.
I could tell right away it wasn't Tim Blackburn, it was his brother. His brother is a younger, slightly smaller version of Tim Blackburn, very similar in appearance. As we're IDing him, what we notice is that his driver's license was brand new. He had just gotten it the day before. So we asked him, well, what happened to your old license?
From the hood.
Blackburn's brother claims he lost his license. But agents suspect he gave it to the fugitive to use as a fake ID. In the car, agents find a note from Tim Blackburn. In it, he asks his brother to get him some money. A man who once had $1 million in his possession now needs a loan to survive.
We decided to arrest him for aiding and abetting a fugitive. So that's what we did. We arrested Tim Blackburn's brother.
Authorities also arrest Blackburn's sister-in-law for lying to federal authorities when she said her Nissan Pathfinder was in the shop. With two of his family members in custody, agents develop an ingenious plan to lure Tim Blackburn into the open. In Las Vegas, a violent bank robber breaks out of jail with the help of his wife. After 3 days of eluding authorities, agents decide to turn up the heat on the dangerous fugitive.
One of the people we wanted to talk to that night was a close friend of Blackburn's who worked as a bouncer at a local gentleman's club. Most people who knew Blackburn either liked him or were afraid of him, and neither opinion was really conducive to providing information to us. His friend was really no exception. He didn't want to tell us anything, but eventually what he told us was that Tim Blackburn had called him at the time he was escaping. Blackburn had called up and said, I'm out, and this friend could hear the sirens and stuff in the background.
You're the last guy that we know.
So I told this friend, you are the last person who Tim Blackburn talked to that we know about, and I think he's going to call you again. And when he does, we want you to tell him that we've arrested his brother and that the people who have assisted him are going to have to pay for what they did to help him. This putting pressure on Blackburn was an effort to try to get him to realize he couldn't really escape, to get him to turn himself in wherever he was at. The next morning, this friend called me up and told me that, sure enough, Tim Blackburn had called him again and that he had told him that I'd arrested his brother and his sister-in-law. And, I asked him what did Blackburn say, and he just said he was mad.
2.5 weeks after the jailbreak, FBI agent Henry Schlumpf learns that Blackburn may have returned to Las Vegas.
I got a phone call from a Las Vegas SWAT officer. He had just met someone who gave him some information regarding Blackburn's whereabouts in Las Vegas, which to my mind was doubtful. I doubted Blackburn was in Las Vegas. But I asked the officer to ask this fella if he knew the names of Blackburn's daughters. And sure enough, this informant did know the names, so at least we knew he did know Blackburn.
The informant claims Blackburn is staying at a motel that caters to long-term guests. Agent Schlumpf and 2 Las Vegas SWAT officers rush to the location.
You seen these two before?
The manager says he's never seen the Blackburns before and they are not registered at the motel.
Okay, that's your register. I'm right there. You have a key?
Still, Agent Schlumpf decides to rent a room so he can surveil the facility.
Okay. All right.
SWAT officers call in the license plates of every vehicle in the parking lot. None of them are reported as either stolen or owned by any of Blackburn's relatives. The motel tip is beginning to look like another false lead. The FBI does not give up. They begin checking every apartment.
So what we decided to do was to perform a ruse. We would have a complex security guard just start knocking on doors and notifying the residents of noise complaints. I'm there watching, and the door opens, and Sophia Blackburn comes out to talk to the guard. I couldn't believe it. There she was. She looked happy and smiling and well-rested, better than I'd ever seen her. She did not look like she'd been on the run for 17 days.
Suspecting that Blackburn is hiding in the apartment, Agent Schlumpf calls for immediate backup. The criminal apprehension team in Las Vegas SWAT arrive within minutes.
SWAT responded right away. More agents came. and a lot of patrol units, marshals came. And what we did was we started evacuating the complex. Every apartment was evacuated except, of course, for the one where we thought Blackburn might be. And then we did what we do in 99% of our fugitive cases. Our criminal apprehension team placed a call into the apartment.
I need to talk to Timothy Blackburn.
What they do is they tell the person in there, look, we know you're there, you're surrounded, there's no way that you can get out, so come on out.
Look, we just want to find a nice, peaceful way to end this whole thing.
So I'm waiting for Blackburn to come out, and I'm deciding, where are we going to take him? Back to the jail he escaped from or to a different facility? And that was my mindset. If he was in there, he was going to come out. But he doesn't.
Agent Slump, he wants to talk to you.
The apprehension team person was on the phone, and she says he wants to talk to you.
Hello, Tim.
And sure enough, it was Tim Blackburn. And my job was just to keep him talking on the phone, because as long as he's talking on the phone, he's not shooting anybody. When I first started talking with Blackburn, I was kind of commiserating with him, telling him, it must have been hard being on the run for the last 3 weeks.
Hey, I took the kids to San Diego. Have you ever been
So
to San
here he
Diego?
was, maybe 10 minutes from Mexico. And he didn't go there. He came back to Las Vegas.
Agent Slump cannot understand why Blackburn has returned, but is even more concerned that his children may be with him.
Why don't we just talk about...
Then his worst fears are realized. He hears the two little girls laughing in the background.
There's children inside the room. Repeat, there's children inside the room.
The SWAT team set up outside the apartment, and they were there to initiate a hostage rescue if Blackburn turned violent and started hurting any of the people in the apartment, Sophia and their two little girls. He says, Henry, I don't suppose you can just let us go. And I told him, I can't do that.
I'm not going back to jail, man. I'm not going back to jail. Look, I don't want my kids to visit me in jail.
Tim was set on not going back to jail. He said he just wasn't going to go back. And, after shooting a guard, there's no way any of that is going to go away.
Slump worries that Blackburn may be suicidal.
Hey, Tim, it's time to come in, buddy.
Authorities now face a dangerous scenario. A hostage barricade situation involving an armed man, his wife, and two small children.
Look, I'm not going back, man. That's just it. I'm not going back to jail. I'm not going back.
The FBI and police SWAT teams surround a motel just off the Strip in Las Vegas. A violent bank robber has barricaded himself inside one of the apartments.
I'm not going back, man.
Tim Blackburn is armed and emotional. Inside the room with him are his wife Sophia and his two daughters.
Oh, you came back.
FBI agent Henry Slump tries to talk the desperate man into surrendering.
Come on out.
Although negotiators are present, Blackburn refuses to talk with anyone but Agent Slump, who months earlier had arrested him for bank robbery.
I'm not going back to jail, man. I don't want my kids to visit me in jail.
Agent Slump pleads with both Blackburn and Sophia to let the children leave the apartment.
Slow it all down.
Sometimes I talked with Sophia and sometimes with Blackburn. It seemed like maybe we were getting a little farther ahead talking with Sophia, but then when we take a break and she talked to Blackburn, we kind of have to start over again. He had a lot of influence with her, because he's her husband. She was afraid that if she were to leave with the children, that Blackburn would kill himself. And, she certainly didn't want that to happen. We'd take breaks, and then I'd call in again. There were highs and lows. Sometimes it seemed like we were making progress. Other times, we took a couple of steps backward.
So, Henry, what's the best place to shoot myself in the head, huh?
He asked me what I thought would be the best place for him to shoot himself. And I told him that we had a lot of other things that we could talk about and try to work out before it came to that.
How are the kids doing?
Blackburn says he put his daughters in the bathtub to protect them.
For their own protection.
But the SWAT commander is concerned. Confining them could also be the prelude to a murder-suicide pact. The SWAT team prepares to blow the door in case they need to rescue Sophia and the children.
The SWAT team placed an explosive charge on the door, an entry charge, so to be able to breach the door very quickly if they needed to.
After 4 long hours of negotiation,
they had to go clear to the back, into the bathroom, to try and rescue the children. And in this case, fractions of seconds count.
They got there just in time to see Blackburn falling down from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
they find Sophia dead. Both the children have been shot in the head and are barely alive.
I saw them running very quickly to try to save the children.
The SWAT team got them to the paramedics, but they died in their arms.
I felt quite saddened that my fellow SWAT officers tried their best and yet wasn't able to save the children. Our mission was to save lives, and we were not able to accomplish that.
It was just devastating. It was like the worst possible outcome.
The coroner later determines that the shots that killed Blackburn, Sophia, and their 2 little girls were all fired by Blackburn himself. A few months later, in federal court in Las Vegas, Riley Bates and his girlfriend plead guilty to possessing stolen money. Because of their cooperation, they are sentenced to only a year. Blackburn's sister-in-law is sentenced to 1 year for lying to federal agents and impeding their investigation. Robert Bates pleads guilty to bank robbery and is sentenced to 24 years in prison. Today, Agent Henry Schlumpf has made his own peace with the tragic events caused by Tim Blackburn.
He's ultimately responsible for everything that happened. He came back to Las Vegas to do exactly what he did. He came back to die. I don't think he was gonna ever come out of that apartment or let anybody else come out of it either.
Las Vegas law enforcement will never forget the deaths of 2 innocent children. For them, the Blackburn case is all about lost hope and the tragedy of a desperate agenda. In Las Vegas, an ex-convict is back to his old ways. Big money cons, low-level burglary, and violent assaults. Local police track him, but he's gone. The FBI joins the case, and the violence escalates. To capture the desperate fugitive, authorities need to anticipate his next move.
Women are most often assaulted by someone they know, but sometimes a stranger attacks. Near Las Vegas in December of 2000, a young woman became the latest victim of a violent sex offender. Before authorities could locate him, he would add murder to his list of crimes. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. FBI agents tracked the armed fugitive across the country, and as they closed in, the gunman was determined to avoid capture at any cost.
Las Vegas, Nevada. Beneath the bright lights are thousands of workers keeping the town running, and criminals ready to take whatever they can. Early on the morning of December 11th, 2000, in the Las Vegas suburb of Henderson, a 17-year-old waitress was on her way to work. In a parking lot, a man offered her a ride to work.
Who's going to work?
She declined.
Move it, go. Get in. Get in. Open it. Hurry up, move it, get in.
His gun stopped her from crying out. He drove her to a secluded area where he sexually assaulted her. As soon as she could, she took her only chance and fled, running to a nearby restaurant to call 911. Henderson police took the call.
Do you need an ambulance, ma'am?
The girl gave a description of her attacker and his vehicle.
You say that was a red Eclipse? Did he have any weapons?
The patrol officer headed to the restaurant to interview the young woman and take her to a nearby medical center. En route, he spotted a red sports car that matched the description given by the victim. When the officer approached, the driver sped away.
Matching that suspect vehicle description. It's a red Mitsubishi Eclipse undergoing travel lane of westbound Warm Springs at LA.
As they neared the city and busier streets, the suspect's driving became more erratic. The officer decided the risk to civilians was too great and pulled back. But police now had the vehicle's license plate number. Henderson PD ran the tags and traced the vehicle to a Las Vegas address. Las Vegas detective Barry Jensen contacted the owner, who explained he had given the car to his daughter to use. The owner said he and his daughter, Rachel Mills, would meet Detective Jensen at her apartment. She had just gotten off work from a local casino. When the detective arrived, he told them about the car eluding police and the reported sexual assault. Rachel said that her husband had the car that morning. He had dropped her off at work at 5 a.m., and she had not seen him since. She hoped there had been some mistake.
She knew that he had been arrested for sexual assault in the past. She knew that he had been in prison, but she didn't believe any of that was true, or she didn't want to believe that any of that was true.
Rachel had noticed their car had been parked across the lot. Detective Jensen asked her to check the apartment and see if her husband had returned. He and her father would check out the car. Looking around the apartment, she realized that her husband had taken most of his belongings. It appeared as if he had left her. The father owned the car, but since Rachel and her husband were the regular drivers, only they could consent to a search.
His stuff is gone. His clothes, the drawers, all the stuff he keeps on the dresser, photos, I don't know. Everything seems it's gone.
Would you give me your verbal consent to search the car without getting a search warrant?
Oh, okay.
You got a set of keys.
Though shaken by what was happening, Rachel gave Jensen permission to search the vehicle. The detective believed the placement of the car far from the apartment was telling.
In my opinion, it was hidden in the parking lot. I think he knew the police were going to find his apartment. If his car wasn't parked right out front, I think he felt that he had more time. He was creating more distance between law enforcement and himself.
Inside the car, Jensen noticed that the few personal effects matched what the assault victim described, pointing more suspicion toward Rachel's husband. She said he didn't have a regular job, but beyond that, Rachel and her father were unable to give the detective much more information.
All they were able to tell us was that he loved to play blackjack and craps. They had no idea where he was getting the money to do that.
Jensen called for crime scene technicians to process the car, in case there was unseen evidence inside.
It's going to be about 15 minutes for the tow truck to get here.
He had to tell Rachel that her husband was a strong suspect in the assault of a 17-year-old girl. At his request, she gave Jensen a photo of her husband, Maghfoor Mansoor. If Mansoor was the assailant, Jensen hoped the victim could ID him based on the photo.
I want you to look at every picture.
At the police station, Detective Jensen interviewed the young woman. She identified Maghfoor Mansoor as her attacker. Nevada police charged him with kidnapping and sexual assault. Jensen found that Mansoor had an extensive rap sheet.
He'd been arrested several times for sexual-related offenses, sexual assault, open and gross lewdness. He'd also been arrested for burglaries, credit card fraud, and weapons violations.
While in prison, Mansoor had been diagnosed with a severe personality disorder that bordered on sociopathic.
He was a sophisticated con artist. He could make people do things that they wouldn't normally do. He was a serial rapist and a career criminal.
For several days, police had no good leads on the case. Then Jensen got a tip from a new ally.
Sexual assault, Jensen.
Mansoor's father-in-law.
Yeah, Richard. He'd been digging around, talking to family friends, and he knew that Mansoor was a big gambler at one of the local hotels, and he felt that he would have a room there. I found that he did have a room that was comped because he was a large money player.
Since hotel security had cameras in the hallways, the detective asked them to watch and call police if anyone entered Mansoor's room.
They weren't set up to make an arrest or to grab Mansoor. I didn't feel comfortable asking them to because I believed that he was dangerous.
That night, a security officer spotted a man entering Mansoor's room. He immediately contacted Las Vegas police.
He has hotel security. He has returned to the hotel.
Detectives were on their way. But the man exited the room less than a minute after he went in and casually slipped away. When the Vice Squad detectives arrived, they checked his room.
We found a suitcase and some family pictures, nothing else that would help or further our investigation.
They searched the entire hotel casino, but there was no sign of Mansoor. They realized in order to find him, they needed more resources, and turned the case over to Special Agent Scott Backen and Detective Brian Dunaway of the Las Vegas FBI's Criminal Apprehension Team, a multi-agency squad responsible for tracking down fugitives in the Las Vegas area. The squad's first step was to distribute informational sheets about Mansoor to area hotels.
When we have someone that we're looking for and we believe that he's gone to a hotel or something, we have a system called TRAX, T-R-A-X, which is it's a fancy fax machine. It allows us to send color digital photos to large groups of people simultaneously to alert them. Those people that don't have TRAX alerts, we went to old-fashioned police work. We were knocking on doors and delivering these things and conducting interviews and making sure that everyone knew about him.
We're looking for this guy right here. He comes under a few different aliases.
Investigators checked registers for known aliases of Mansoor. They found nothing.
These two gentlemen are from the FBI.
But some security personnel recognized Mansoor as a suspect in a string of room burglaries plaguing the Vegas Strip. They described his frequent cons. They said Mansoor preyed on tourists, mostly those of Middle Eastern or Asian origin.
Okay, thank you.
He would often pose as a translator or as a tour guide, and he would do this in order to gain the confidence of people that were in town who had money. After gaining their confidence, he would use this information to usually enter their rooms because he was able to contact the hotel staff and pose as these people.
When the tourists returned to their rooms, they found them ransacked.
Right away.
Over several days, Mansoor had stolen more than $250,000 in cash and jewelry.
204. We have been completely robbed. We have been robbed.
Everything is horrible.
Agent Backen believed the suspect would use the money to flee Nevada.
We obtained an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution warrant, which is a federal warrant, charging him with fleeing one state, going to another to avoid prosecution for the underlying charge, which was sexual assault. With the federal warrant, it allowed us to engage other FBI offices around the country in searching for Mansoor.
They tried to narrow the scope of the nationwide search by reviewing any piece of information they could find regarding the suspect.
We were able to gather INS records, immigration records, that type of stuff, and we found that he had been in their custody for a great deal of time, and he was here citing some sort of religious persecution. And then we were able to pull in the records from New Jersey and the other places that he had been at. We found that he had been involved in gambling, fraud, generally property crimes types of things.
Mansoor's wife gave them long-distance phone records which showed many calls to casinos around the country.
We began developing a profile of him as a gambler, and once we did that, we focused our investigation on the gambling establishments.
One of the gambling communities they notified was New Orleans. Casinos there should look out for it. On the morning of January 9th, 2001, 29 days after the Las Vegas sexual assault and kidnapping, a man in an obvious wig appeared at the New Orleans airport. Paying cash, he booked a flight to Las Vegas under the name Francis Gabriel. In the middle of the transaction, he changed his destination to Los Angeles.
There you go. Thank you.
Ticket agents are trained to spot suspicious activity.
Security, please. Yes.
She notified airport police. The wig, cash, and odd behavior was enough probable cause for the undercover officer to question the man. He followed him outside, then asked to see his identification ticket.
Like I'm asking you, you got your ticket?
Soon, New Orleans authorities would learn the identity of the carjacker and join the hunt for an elusive fugitive.
Yeah, I'm at door 6A. He ran up on the roof.
In January 2001, Las Vegas authorities hunted fugitive Maghfoor Mansoor, suspected of robbery, kidnapping, and sexual assault. A month later, at the New Orleans airport, a man in a disguise assaulted a police officer, then escaped in a carjacked pickup truck. Undercover Jefferson Parish police assigned to the airport reported the incident. And an APB for the truck and its driver went out to police in nearby parishes. "30 minutes later, a St. Charles Parish deputy spotted the pickup truck 10 miles from the airport. He called in the plates, confirming it was the stolen truck. But the deputy knew there was construction ahead, so he did not pursue at high speed. The truck entered the road construction zone, but the driver was not going to stop and swerved toward a highway worker. The St. Charles Parish deputy arrived seconds later. Seeing the worker down, he called for an ambulance, then went to check the truck. The carjacker was gone. At the airport, police searched a piece of luggage the fugitive had dropped. Since it was left unattended on airport property, Lieutenant Gwen Toka did not need a warrant.
We found some identification with a photograph of the suspect, an Italian passport. When we checked that, it was found to have been a stolen passport, which the suspect had obviously placed his photograph on.
Police also found a list of stolen credit card numbers, players' cards from casinos throughout the United States, and multiple Social Security numbers. Because of possible interstate fraud, Jefferson Parish Police called the New Orleans FBI. They forwarded the photo and name used on the stolen passport to Special Agent Sandra Zulli.
We immediately started running that name through our system to try to identify photographs of anyone that used that name.
The photo of fugitive Maghfoor Mansoor, wanted out of Las Vegas, matched the one on the passport. Calling Vegas to learn more details, Zulli confirmed it was him. Despite the best efforts of the emergency personnel, the highway worker died of his injuries. Authorities began their search for Mansoor at the truck and worked outward from there. Lieutenant Toka joined the search near the Mississippi River.
We did about a mile radius search, plus the state police helped us on the perimeters that were doing the search. We had a helicopter up, plus we had tracking dogs in the location.
The area's landscape made it difficult.
There are buildings, tugboats, wharves. It's a working area, and there's a lot of abandoned warehouses there, derelict barges up on the ground and everything.
They searched for more than 24 hours, checking every conceivable hiding place.
We theorized that he had either gone into the river and drowned, or that he had made his way out of the security envelope.
Still, authorities had to assume that Mansoor was alive. They hoped to determine where the fugitive had been while in New Orleans. Perhaps he would go back there. They reviewed airline passenger lists and surveillance tapes to reconstruct the fugitive's movements.
The day before, he had come down from Connecticut into New Orleans, and we were able to track him to some local casinos that he was at that night, and then the next day he was supposed to be flying out, and that's when he was confronted by the officer.
Mansoor's behavior pattern was clear.
We felt that eventually he would show up at a casino, and that's why we focused on the casino security departments to make sure they were alerted to look for him in possibly a disguise.
Maghfoor Mansoor.
Authorities also broadcast his photo and the aliases he used, hoping the public could help find him. Anyone with information was asked to call a dedicated tip line. Police immediately began receiving sightings. One came from a motorist who thought he had seen Mansoor the night the highway worker was killed. The motorist said that night he'd been driving behind a taxi on a road near the airport. He saw a man come out of the woods and hail the taxi. It looked like Mansoor. But police could not find the taxi driver, and the trail went cold.
We were receiving numerous reports of individuals who they felt looked like this individual walking down the road, sitting at a bar, at a casino, and all of these were checked out.
Yet none of the sightings led to Mansoor. The next lead came from officers patrolling the nearby Mississippi River.
Shortly after the disappearance, we received a call of a body that they located floating at the bank of the river. And we knew that in the file from the Las Vegas division that we had dental records of Maghfoor Mansoor, who had dental work done while in prison. So we obtained the dental records and had a comparison done.
The records did not match. Mansoor's whereabouts were still unknown. And now that he was wanted for killing a man, he'd be more desperate than ever to avoid them. Wanted on a charge of sexual assault and kidnapping, fugitive Maghfoor Mansoor disappeared from Las Vegas. Weeks later, he resurfaced in New Orleans, where he carjacked a truck and killed a highway worker. Not only was he moving quickly across jurisdictions, he was also using multiple identities, according to FBI Special Agent Sandra Zulli.
Maghfoor Mansoor utilized so many different aliases. We determined that he was stealing identification cards on a regular basis while he was staying in the casino area. The players' cards that we located in the luggage were determined to be stolen from casinos.
Some of those players' cards were from casinos in Atlantic City. To follow up on them, Louisiana agents contacted the FBI's Newark field office. Special Agent Joseph Fury checked on a casino player's card Mansoor used under the name Yasser Hamid.
I called the hotel casino and talked to the senior vice president in charge of security, and he advised me that Mr. Hamid had in fact been a player at their casino, and on January 3rd of 2001 had played and won approximately $50,000.
That was 6 days before the airport incident in New Orleans. But considering Mansoor's lavish gambling lifestyle, the money probably would not last long.
If he was desperate for money, we thought he might come back to Atlantic City to gamble again.
Agent Fury learned a New Jersey phone number had been found in Mansoor's luggage.
We didn't know the reason he had the number, whether or not he had ever called the number, or who was on the receiving end of that call.
Okay. Authorities traced the number to a house in the Atlantic City suburb of Brigantine and set up surveillance on it. They knew the house belonged to a local cab driver, but little else. Agents watched on the slim chance the house might be connected to Mansoor. Other teams of agents also searched the gambling community of Atlantic City.
We distributed wanted posters to all of the hotel casinos in Atlantic City, as well as the Atlantic City Police Department and New Jersey State Police.
Someone, somewhere, was bound to run into the elusive killer. Yet months went by with no sign of him. Then, at an Atlantic City hotel on the night of May 4th, 2001, a vacationing Pennsylvania state trooper and his wife returned to their room.
Honey?
Yeah.
And discovered they weren't alone.
Get over there. Everything's fine. Shut your mouth. Here's my wallet. I'm not worried about that.
The trooper recognized Mansoor from wanted posters. He knew the man had killed before. But for some reason, Mansoor left without harming the couple or taking any money. The state trooper notified the hotel about Mansoor and asked them to call the FBI.
Yes, right now. Call the FBI.
Mansoor had emerged from hiding, now with a gun. Again, a threat to anyone who ran across him.
Yes, thank you. Bye. Are you okay?
As the case progressed, I knew he was a desperate man, living a life of luxury which he didn't earn, and he was desperate to avoid law enforcement contact.
2 days later, at 6:30 in the morning, a casino ATM alerted hotel security of someone attempting to use a stolen credit card to obtain a cash advance.
Come here a second. I need to show you something real quick. Check this guy out here on the ATM machine here. Why don't you go check that out for me? Check see what's going on.
One of the hotel security officers confronted the cardholder, who calmly explained the card belonged to him. He claimed he had reported it stolen, but found it again that morning and forgot to cancel the hold on it. Asked for identification, the man handed the security officer an Indian passport that had been obviously altered. When the security officer tried to bring the man in for questioning, he pulled a gun,
Don't move, you got it. Don't follow me.
then fled.
All things fine.
Though the officer didn't know it yet, the man he was trying to take into custody was Maghfoor Mansoor. The suspect jumped into a nearby taxi and forced the driver to help him escape. Hotel security called the incident in to Atlantic City Police. Several units mobilized to find the carjacked taxi. But once again, Mansoor was one step ahead. When he got distracted, the driver took a chance. Minutes later, witnesses outside the Taj Mahal casino saw a well-dressed man leave a taxi idling at the curb and disappear inside. Fielding the calls about the incidents, Atlantic City police believed Mansoor must be involved. Authorities immediately responded to the Taj Mahal. Witnesses' descriptions matched the fugitive. And detectives found an altered Indian passport, the one from the ATM incident. The photo was of Maghfoor Mansoor.
The cab driver stated that Mansoor told him he would shoot and kill him, as well as any police officer who stopped him, and he would not go back to jail. At that point, we kind of stepped up the investigation, knowing that it wasn't a one-time incident. It was an individual who was on a crime spree and seemed to be on a downward spiral.
Maghfoor Mansoor had eluded authorities for months. Now, as agents surrounded the massive Taj Mahal casino, they hoped they finally had him cornered. The FBI sought Maghfoor Mansoor for kidnapping, sexual assault, carjacking, and second-degree murder. He had eluded them in Las Vegas and New Orleans. In May of 2001, he surfaced in Atlantic City. Hoping finally to stop him, FBI Special Agent Joseph Fury organized a search of the hotel casino Mansoor was seen entering.
We established a command post at the Taj Mahal with the Atlantic City Police Department, the New Jersey State Police, as well as security personnel from the Taj Mahal in an effort to locate Mansoor, thinking that he may be in the hotel somewhere.
But Mansoor wouldn't be easy to find. The 1,200-room hotel boasts a 135,000 square foot casino and is often filled with thousands of guests. And in service areas, there are dozens of hallways with plenty of offices and storage rooms to hide in. Investigators had to clear each one.
Clear, coming out.
Authorities feared Mansoor had escaped again. They broadened the search area.
New Jersey State Police and Atlantic City Police canvassed the entire hotel casino, as well as every hotel casino in Atlantic City.
They found nothing. Somehow, Mansoor had slipped away. Investigators requested security tapes from all Atlantic City hotel casinos, hoping to find a lead. After reviewing hundreds of hours of tapes, they finally spotted Mansoor. He was getting out of a cab, checking the taxi's identification number. State police learned it was owned by an independent operator living outside of Atlantic City, in Brigantine.
I asked what the cab driver's name was and the location where they were going, and they told me a name which came back to the individual who I had been surveilling in anticipation of Mansoor returning to the Atlantic City area.
Authorities returned to the Brigantine house with a search warrant and a SWAT team. The SWAT team moved into position. To get the cab driver out of the house, an agent called inside, posing as a dispatcher. He told the driver that one of his regular fares needed a ride.
We felt that if Mansoor was inside, it might be a hostage-type situation.
Put your hands on top of your head. Put your hands on top of your head.
But the driver emerged alone, and they pulled him away so they could talk to him safely. The driver said no one else was in the house, but the arrest team had to be sure.
All clear.
It was another disappointment. Authorities returned to the state police barracks to interview the cab driver. He said he had driven Mansoor around the Atlantic City area several times in recent years. They had become friends, but now he was more than willing to cooperate.
He immediately told us that Mansoor had been at his house that morning, had pulled a gun on him, and had ordered him to drive him towards Philadelphia, which was approximately an hour drive from Atlantic City. He actually drove Mansoor into Philadelphia and dropped him off.
The driver hadn't called police because Mansoor knew where he lived, and he was afraid he would come back to get him. Fury notified the FBI's Philadelphia field office that Mansoor might be there.
I then drove from Atlantic City to Philadelphia with pictures of Mansoor and assisted the Philadelphia division.
Sir, FBI.
The agents went to a bus station near where Mansoor was dropped off, looking for anyone who had seen him.
We showed the picture to several counter attendants, one who recognized the picture and said that Mansoor had purchased a bus ticket to New York.
Yes, sir.
It seemed Mansoor had gone to Philadelphia, only to make his trail more difficult to follow. On May 9th, 2001, the FBI added Maghfoor Mansoor to its 10 most wanted fugitives list. This made him a top priority for every FBI agent in the nation, according to Task Force member Brian Dunaway.
Him being on the FBI's Most Wanted does a few things. It allocates a great deal more resources to the investigation, and it places a $50,000 reward for his capture.
The following day, security at Atlantic City's Taj Mahal Resort reported that a gunman matching Mansoor's description had robbed the hotel jewelry store of $300,000 worth of watches. Surveillance video captured the plate number of the limo Mansoor used to escape. At the Newark field office, the FBI questioned the limousine driver. He said he had picked Mansoor up in New York City earlier that day. When Mansoor had called for the limo, he asked to be picked up on a certain street corner. The driver didn't know where he was staying. He said Mansoor seemed like any other high-stakes gambler. But around 8 o'clock, he heard security alarms. Then Mansoor jumped in and ordered him to speed away. The driver followed orders. Mansoor had a gun. The fugitive got out of the limousine 5 blocks from the robbed hotel and hopped into another cab, a white Crown Victoria with New Jersey plates. The FBI asked local police to issue an all-points bulletin for white Crown Victoria cabs in Atlantic City. That night, police stopped every taxi matching the description. Eventually, they found the driver who had picked up Mansoor. He reported that he had taken the man to Philadelphia and dropped him off at the airport. The FBI learned that only 2 flights had departed Philadelphia late enough for Mansoor to have boarded. Both were bound for Las Vegas. Manifests did not show Mansoor's name, but he might be flying under an alias they did not know yet. If Mansoor were on either flight, authorities in Las Vegas would be ready for him. In the pre-dawn hours of May 11, 2001, the FBI believed deadly fugitive Maghfoor Mansoor might be aboard one of 2 flights to Las Vegas. New Jersey FBI Special Agent Joseph Fury kept working as the planes traveled cross-country.
I contacted the Las Vegas division to advise them that Mansoor had committed the armed robbery in Atlantic City, and he may in fact be en route back to Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Police Department as well as the FBI were at the airport waiting for both planes to arrive.
Vegas detective Brian Dunaway had been tracking Mansoor from the beginning. He knew how dangerous and desperate the fugitive was.
Everyone that we had talked to, everyone that knew anything about him, knew that he wasn't going to go back to jail. He had made those statements, and his actions were just of such desperation that he wasn't a person that wasn't going to face these charges. And his previous incarcerations and the records that they kept on him there was just no way he was going back. So he was going to go out in a blaze of glory.
Mansoor frequently used disguises and false IDs to travel. But he wasn't on the first flight. When the second plane landed, agents cleared it too. From the limo driver they'd interviewed, they knew he had last stayed in New York City.
At that point, I contacted Special Agent Ted Miller of the New York Division to advise him that Mansoor was not on either flight that went to Las Vegas, and it would be more likely that he would be in New York City.
Reviewing Mansoor's phone records from Las Vegas, agents interviewed Mansoor's associates in New York, reminding them of the $50,000 reward. Eventually, they tracked down Mansoor's regular limo driver in the city.
In New York, it's very hard to get a taxi cab, and you have several private limos that will be at your beck and call. And this limo driver was willing to drive Mansoor because he seemed to have quite a bit of money.
He said he hadn't seen Mansoor recently, but on previous trips, he always picked Mansoor up from the same Midtown hotel.
Okay. If you think of anything else that might help us, please give us a call.
The limo driver was cooperative and was going to take them to an area where he thought Mansoor was staying. It was approximately 6 in the morning when Agent Miller advised me they had located the hotel.
FBI agents, New York City police, and U.S. Marshals headed to the hotel. Special Agent Timothy LeTurner was part of the arrest team.
We got a call from Special Agent Miller saying the subject Mansoor committed an armed robbery last night at the Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City, and we believe he retreated to New York, and we think we have good leads that he may be at the hotel located at West 47th Street.
The investigators set up on surveillance outside. Before the stakeout, they had been briefed on the case and warned of the danger.
We talked about how he brandished a handgun during several crimes he committed. We talked about the armed rape of a 17-year-old girl and a murder he committed in Louisiana. So we knew about his propensity to violence.
Several investigators went to check with the front desk. The clerk was able to confirm that Mansoor had used one of his aliases to check in. He gave them Mansoor's room number, but didn't know if he was there.
Our plan at that time was we were going to make a ruse phone call into the room. We believed Mansoor might be staying in. We had agents outside the room. We had agents in the lobby. What we decided to do was a wake-up call. If he answered or we heard stirring in the room, we would know he'd be in there, or someone would be in there. We made several calls. We got no response telephonically. We heard nothing in the room.
Mansoor must have gone out. They hoped he would return. Hours later, they spotted him. He was alone and heading back into the hotel.
Come on, guys.
This time, they wouldn't let him slip away. Mansoor had long vowed not to be taken alive. He went for a gun and aimed at a detective.
From the time I saw the gun to the time my weapon was fired, you're talking about 2 or 3 seconds. So not a whole lot of time to think about it. You have innocent civilians in the lobby. Missing isn't an option.
Even with 3 9mm rounds in him, Mansoor continued to struggle as they took him into custody. Because of their training, the arrest team was unharmed.
Things had to be instinctive. Things had to be committed to muscle memory. And those reactions that occurred that morning were reactions based on excellent training. They were the byproduct of great training. So my recommendation to other agents would be receive as much training as you can. Try and get it to the point where it's instinctive.
The pursuit of Mansoor had lasted 5 months, involving more than a dozen law enforcement agencies. New York City emergency personnel tried to stabilize Mansoor, but he died en route to the hospital. His rampage was finally over.
Not any one law enforcement agency can handle an investigation of this magnitude by themselves, and without the cooperation and efforts of all of the law enforcement agencies, I don't think Mansoor would have been caught without causing harm to someone else.
In Memphis, Tennessee, a horrible crime terrified local residents. Most never heard the young mother's screams, but they felt the loss. As local authorities searched for the perpetrator, they found many who had motive. Investigators were forced to consider whether this was a random act of violence or a crime of deliberate calculation.
When a wealthy young woman was abducted in front of her in-laws' home, the police had no shortage of suspects. The 25-year-old victim left behind a tumultuous marriage, an ex-husband, and old boyfriends. All were on the FBI's short list. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. As suspects are interviewed, the case grew no clearer. To find the woman and her abductor, investigators would have to first determine the motive.
Tunica County, Mississippi, just south of Memphis, Tennessee, is America's 3rd largest gambling destination. 25-year-old Shannon Sanderson had recently become one of the regulars. On April 19, 1996, the housewife from nearby Memphis, Tennessee, visited her favorite casino. Shannon was having a good night. She managed to turn $500 into $5,000 at the high-stakes blackjack table. At 3:30 a.m., she cashed out and headed home.
Sure. Can I have security? Security.
When players win big, most casinos provide a security escort to protect customers from theft. This casino was no exception. Upon Shannon's request, a guard followed her to the parking area.
Oh, it was great.
It was an hour's drive to Shannon's home in Memphis through secluded roads. She knew the route well. She loved to win, but could afford to lose. Less than a year earlier, she'd married her boss, a multi-millionaire who was 33 years her senior. Earlier that evening, she had dropped off her 3 young children from her previous marriage at the home of their grandparents in northeast Memphis. It was about 4:45 a.m. when Shannon pulled into the grandparents' driveway to pick up her children. She needed to get them off to school on time in the morning.
Did you hear that?
Inside the house, Shannon's former in-laws were awakened by a piercing scream. Her former father-in-law rushed to the window to see Shannon struggling with someone in a baseball cap. He raced to assist her. Neighbors also heard the commotion and witnessed the crime. Within seconds, the mother of 3 had been abducted less than 50 feet from the front door. The distraught grandfather called 911. Memphis police were immediately dispatched. In kidnapping cases, a quick response can mean the difference between life and death. Police arrived within minutes and interviewed Shannon's former father-in-law. Memphis police captain Richard David Wolson, a sergeant at the time, recalls that the shaken man did his best to recall what he had seen.
Her ex-father-in-law heard a commotion and observed a car driving away. At the same time, some other neighbors on the street heard the commotion and also looked out and saw a car drive away and gave a description of the driver and a description of the car.
Despite the dim light, witnesses agreed that the driver had worn a red baseball cap. But their descriptions of the vehicle varied. Some described it vaguely as dark-colored and sporty. Another witness was certain that it was a maroon Chevy Beretta.
She dropped the kids off by herself too, so.
None of them could describe the driver's face.
It was, like I said, that was hard.
On the driveway, close to the street, police found 2 metal buttons assumed to have been torn from Shannon's clothing. Close by, they recovered a single artificial fingernail. The victim's car was searched, but police found nothing to suggest the identity of her abductor or Shannon's whereabouts. Her ex-father-in-law had seen Shannon earlier that evening when she had dropped off her children. He and his wife had agreed to babysit their grandchildren while Shannon celebrated her new husband's birthday at the casino.
You guys, what's going on? Man, it's good to see you.
Their former daughter-in-law had divorced their son less than a year before. Still, their relationship with her remained amicable, and she visited regularly with the children.
It's pretty good, all right?
Shannon's former father-in-law told police the name of the casino where Shannon and her new husband liked to play. The casino confirmed she'd been there and won $5,000, but no one could say if she was with anyone in particular. Later that day, news that the mother of 3 was abducted just steps from where her children slept horrified local residents, according to Memphis District Attorney Jerry Kitchen.
She appeared to be a person who was very conscious about the upbringing of her children, because she had returned back to Memphis to pick her children up to make sure that they got to school.
Memphis police questioned Shannon's ex-husband, who was the father of her 3 children.
Is anybody here with you after 11:30? No, sir. Okay.
All right, yeah. No, finish your daughters. Give me the gentleman a minute. Thanks, sweetie.
He was at work when the abduction occurred in front of his parents' home. Though his relationship with Shannon had been stormy, they remained married for almost 8 years. They finally divorced after Shannon fell in love with her present husband. Memphis police were reluctant to eliminate him as a suspect so early in the investigation, though Shannon's ex-husband's alibi was solid.
Who knows the reason why people get a divorce, but I've never heard of a good divorce. She still made him pay alimony, even though she was married to a wealthy person.
Join us.
Police looked to her present husband to learn more. Since he was a multimillionaire, they considered the possibility that Shannon may have been kidnapped for ransom.
He owned a large security company here in Memphis, and he was well known. Everybody wanted to help him because they knew him or knew of him. And being that he was wealthy, she would be a prime target to be kidnapped for money.
So far, he had received no ransom call or letter. He'd been distraught since being woken at 5 a.m. with the news of his wife's abduction. Regrettably, the last time they'd spoken that night, they'd had a fight.
Engaged in whatever she was doing.
Happy birthday to you.
It was his 58th birthday, and his teenage daughters from a previous marriage had stopped by to celebrate.
Happy birthday to you.
That same evening, his wife Shannon had planned to take him to the casino.
Hello?
Hi, sweetie.
After dropping off her children, she called to say that she was on the way to pick him up. He told her he wasn't ready. His daughters were there, and he wanted to spend more time with them before going out.
No.
Shannon became angry.
We don't get along.
According to her husband, she felt he was putting his children ahead of their plans. He told her he could be ready in a half hour, but she hung up on him.
Hello?
He expected that she'd cool down and pick him up. But when he tried to call later, she did not answer.
She and I are just
Sit down.
I guess there's just such a difference in our age.
Police asked if he knew anyone who might want to harm Shannon.
The last thing she said to me was something.
The husband mentioned an ex-boyfriend against whom Shannon had filed charges of harassment a year earlier. He believed the ex-boyfriend drove a Chevy Beretta. At headquarters, police checked with DMV, but found no records that her ex-boyfriend or any of his family owned a Beretta. A criminal background check did confirm that a judge had ordered her ex-lover to have no contact with Shannon over the past year. Investigators went to question Shannon's ex-boyfriend, but he was not at home, nor had he shown up for work. His sister lived in the same neighborhood, a few blocks from where Shannon had been abducted. She reported that she had seen a suspicious car drive past her house on the night of the crime.
No, we haven't heard anything yet.
She was out on the porch around the time of the abduction when a maroon Chevy Beretta sped by, heading out of the neighborhood. She said she didn't recognize the driver at first.
Did you happen to notice?
But when she saw a photo of Shannon's wealthy husband in a news report, she was sure it was him. Though Memphis police had first considered the possibility that Shannon had been abducted for ransom, they now began to consider another possibility.
It's always in the back of your mind due to her being married to a wealthy person and the difference in their ages, that something could have happened to her to get rid of her. We just didn't know, so we tried to cover every angle that we could.
Memphis police asked Shannon's husband to provide a formal statement.
The reason I've asked you here today.
With his lawyer present, he filled in detectives about his relationship with Shannon. Police knew that he had met Shannon while she was still married, working at the security company he owned.
Here's your coffee, sir. Be careful.
She worked for him, but soon their relationship took a personal turn. Their romance led to marriage, but the magic didn't last long.
There's nothing else that you can think of.
9 months later, they began negotiating a postnuptial agreement outlining terms in the event the troubled union broke. Both had previous marriages that ended in divorce, and Shannon needed to feel certain that she would retain custody of her children. They'd filed it just 10 days before Shannon's abduction.
I'm feeling sufficiently well to come to.
Shannon's husband emphasized that it was his wife who wanted the agreement. He claimed money was not the issue since they kept separate bank accounts.
You do realize that by refusing.
When police asked, the husband agreed to reinforce his statement with a polygraph.
This meeting.
To cover all possibilities, police checked local morgues, jails, and hospitals. But after a week, investigators had no solid leads to Shannon's whereabouts. Police in Memphis received dozens of calls from local residents. Most were well-intentioned, but unproductive.
And your name again? In the morning.
All had to be checked.
Yes, ma'am, and thanks for the call.
One was from a woman named Sharon Powers in nearby Clarksdale, Mississippi, 80 miles south of Memphis.
The abduction was reported in the paper and on the news, and a description of the car was given. She had contacted the Memphis Police Department saying that she thought that maybe her husband was involved because of the description of the car.
She told Mississippi police that she believed her husband, Lee, may fit the suspect description. The day after the crime was reported, he had worn a red cap and left town in their red Chevy Beretta to see his mother. The woman said that she and her husband had been fighting. Police asked her to have him call when he returned. They weren't optimistic. Her report sounded like a possible domestic dispute unrelated to the crime. On May 3rd, 1996, police responded to another call from a concerned citizen trying to help. At a casino in Tunica County, Mississippi, a witness believed he had spotted Shannon Sanderson dressed as a casino employee.
May I help?
But when an officer approached her, he realized that it was a case of mistaken identity. It was one more call among hundreds of false leads that frustrated the investigation. After 2 weeks of searching, local investigators were no closer to finding the missing mother of 3. Her family was left only with the hope that she was still alive. In the spring of 1996, Memphis police continued their search for 25-year-old Shannon Sanderson, who had been abducted from the front of her former in-laws' home. Investigators had questioned her wealthy husband, past lovers, and area residents, but none offered clues to her whereabouts. In any investigation, authorities try first to eliminate those people closest to the victim. After more than 2 weeks of searching, Memphis Police Captain Richard David Rolson feared that time was running out.
Due to her past boyfriends and lovers, we just didn't know what happened, but as the days went by, the chances of finding her alive were slimmer and slimmer.
On May 6th, Shannon's ex-boyfriend finally came in for questioning.
Friend of yours? No.
He had only recently completed his year-long probation of harassment charges against Shannon. He claimed to be asleep in his mother's house at the time of her abduction. According to the ex-boyfriend, he avoided Shannon as his probation required, but Shannon continued to call him, complaining that she wasn't happy with her new marriage. He added that he would have to talk to his lawyer before agreeing to take a polygraph. He remained a potential suspect. But as with Shannon's husband, no hard evidence existed to prove nor disprove his involvement. Then, on May 9th, 1996, 40 miles south from where Shannon had been abducted, sheriffs in DeSoto County, Mississippi were called to a rural plot of land in the town of Eudora. Two people had been inspecting their new property when they noticed a strong odor. Then they discovered a woman's decomposing body. The DeSoto County crime scene technicians set up a grid around the immediate area.
Item.
They conducted a line search, looking for anything that might be a clue.
Go.
They labeled and recorded every item they came across as they drew closer to the body. 15 feet away, they found a woman's high-heeled shoe.
Go.
Closer to the body, they marked the location of another. DeSoto sheriffs checked their records, but found no women reported missing locally. They broadened their search to include larger towns and cities in the region. When they contacted Memphis authorities, police there told them that a 25-year-old mother of three named Shannon Sanderson had been missing for more than 2 weeks. DeSoto deputies learned that she was blonde, approximately 5'5", 130 pounds, had a small tattoo, and was last seen wearing a dress, high heels, a jacket with metal buttons, and pink artificial fingernails.
Looks good so far.
That description fit the body, but they needed an autopsy to confirm her identity and cause of death. The medical examiner determined that the victim had been killed by a single .25 caliber bullet to the right temple.
And you're bagging that, right?
Yes, sir. Date and time.
The victim's clothes were removed and preserved to check for trace evidence that might lead to the killer. The body, dead an estimated 2 to 3 weeks, was too decomposed to recognize. But over her left breast, examiners found a small tattoo that was still visible. It said, "I love you, Robert." Shannon Sanderson had such a tattoo. The medical examiner compared her dental records to x-rays from the body.
Okay, definitely x-rays.
They confirmed the ID. This was Shannon Sanderson's body. The abduction was now officially a homicide. In Memphis, Assistant District Attorney Jerry Kitchen was called in. His first task would be to somehow narrow the suspect list the police had developed over the past 3 weeks.
Here in Memphis, it's somewhat unusual in that we have relatively few murder cases that we would classify as mystery homicides, where someone's not either developed as a suspect rather quickly or arrested soon after the incident. But in this particular case, it was a mystery homicide with numerous suspects that were listed as potentially being involved in the abduction and killing of the victim.
The Assistant District Attorney first called the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation to conduct polygraph examinations to help eliminate potential suspects. He also contacted the FBI, since Shannon's body was found across the Tennessee state line. Supervisory Special Agent Jennifer Aiken from the FBI's Memphis field office was assigned as case agent.
They felt they needed some additional resources. The case was a very difficult case. across jurisdictions, and they wanted the FBI to be involved as part of the team working towards a solution, because it was not an easy case.
Memphis authorities hoped that Agent Aiken's experience would help unravel the complexities of this case. Local residents were fearful that Shannon's killer was still out there, not knowing if or when he would strike again. In the spring of 1996, the body of 25-year-old Shannon Sanderson, a mother of 3, was found in Eudora, Mississippi, 40 miles from her Memphis, Tennessee home. The FBI, together with state and local investigators, needed to shorten the lengthy suspect list that included Shannon's husband and past lovers. Assistant District Attorney Jerry Kitchen hoped polygraph examinations could help focus their search.
This investigation was difficult in that there were a lot of suspects in this particular case. Throughout the victim's life, she had, of course, been divorced. And naturally, in any type of murder case, you do focus in and you do look at relatives or acquaintances or husbands, any type of relationship that the victim may have been involved in that could lead back to some type of dispute or domestic violence.
Tennessee state authorities tested several of Shannon's ex-lovers. They asked them their whereabouts on the night of the abduction. They asked directly if they had abducted or killed Shannon. All denied any involvement. The tests revealed no deception. Investigators corroborated their alibis and eliminated them as potential suspects. They also polygraphed the witness who claimed to have seen Shannon's current husband driving a maroon Chevy Beretta in the neighborhood moments before the abduction occurred. It was the same type of vehicle other witnesses had described that Shannon was forced into. But the woman was found to be deceptive.
These are Becky's charts. Her test.
Though police now believed her claim was false, that she had seen Shannon's husband driving the getaway vehicle, they also knew that Shannon's brief marriage with her wealthy husband had been rocky. They wanted to confirm once and for all that he had not been involved in any way.
This question about honesty and what she is.
This crime occurred at 4 o'clock in the morning. The victim's husband had indicated that he went to bed and that there was no one else that he was with. And so he really had no alibi. And so that was an area that was difficult for us to get over because we could not lock down exactly where he was and what he was doing without other than what he was telling us.
Investigators contacted Shannon's husband to be polygraphed. Though he had previously agreed to do so, on advice from his lawyer, he declined. Heart medication that he was taking may have induced a false reading, according to his lawyer.
Are you feeling?
For Captain Rolson, the husband's refusal didn't alleviate the suspicions that surrounded him.
You couldn't understand if he didn't have anything to do with it, why he wouldn't be wanting to cooperate. And being a homicide detective, you're suspicious, and it just made him that more suspicious.
In terms of incriminating evidence, the investigation was at a standstill. Supervisory Special Agent Jennifer Aiken hoped to refocus the investigation by examining leads that may have been overlooked.
We have to look at all of the possibilities, and that's, part of the battle in the beginning is not to get too far down the road in speculating about what kind of guy this could be, and what, what his relationship or non-relationship would be to the victim. What we did then is identify what other possibilities do we still need to explore.
One possibility, though not a promising one, was Sharon Powers, who earlier reported that her husband may have matched the vague description of the suspect.
Get some more information about it.
I don't believe he is.
But now she wasn't so sure about her previous claim. She told police she'd overreacted, reinforcing their belief that she'd only been trying to get back at her husband for leaving her.
Yeah, so it couldn't have been him.
She said that her husband had left town, that they had had some, marital disputes. They felt that perhaps this report was really just sort of sour grapes and that she was trying to get her husband, maybe estranged husband, into trouble of some kind. And so they really just simply did not know how much weight to give this rather conflicting and kind of half-hearted story that she was telling.
Though her husband wasn't a serious suspect, police wanted to talk with him. A bulletin for Gerald Lee Powers was issued that he was wanted for questioning in Tennessee. FBI agents and Tennessee investigators met to review the casino surveillance tape of the blackjack table where Shannon had won the now missing $5,000. Her growing pile of chips would certainly make her an attractive target. They viewed the tape to see if a stalker could be seen. But if that was the killer's intention, Agent Aiken questioned why he would wait so long to make his move.
Clearly, she had been winning for a while. She was there late at night. There were a number of factors that made her visit to that casino rather high risk. And yet we had this abduction occurring almost an hour to an hour and a half after she left that environment. So first we had to determine, did it have anything or nothing to do with her visit to that casino?
The tape showed Shannon, but was inadequate to reveal whether she was being stalked. Investigators were no closer to finding the truth. As they contemplated what to do next, the investigation veered in an unexpected direction. On May 22, 1996, near Hebronville, Texas, 750 miles from where Shannon was seen forced into a car described as a Chevy Beretta, a vehicle fitting that description erratically swerved away from a border checkpoint. The vehicle had Mississippi plates. One of the patrol guards raced after it, believing the driver to be a potential border jumper or smuggler. In May of 1996, as the investigation continued into the kidnapping and murder of a young Tennessee mother, U.S. Border Patrol agents chased down a fleeing maroon Chevy Beretta with Mississippi plates, the type of car described by witnesses in the abduction. Caught at a dead end, the suspect resisted.
Drop it! Drop the knife! Up against the car! Up against the car!
Then backed down when confronted by the agent's gun.
Give me the other hand. Give me the other hand.
He had 14 $100 bills in his pocket.
Really?
The driver said his name was Gerald Lee Powers, but held no driver's license to prove it. The cursory search of the car revealed no illegal drugs or aliens. But in the trunk, border agents recovered a stolen weapon registered in Arkansas. The car was locked and remained in that spot under armed guard until FBI agents could conduct a more thorough search. Special Agent Evan Ray from the FBI field office in Laredo, Texas was contacted since assaulting a Border Patrol officer is a federal offense. Agent Ray confirmed the identity of the driver when he learned that Gerald Lee Powers had been involved in another altercation at the Mexican border.
I spoke to U.S. Customs Service officials who had indicated that they had had an incident that day as well in which an individual had fled and had left several pieces of identification behind on the counter when they fled. And so we were then in possession of several pieces of identification of Mr. Powers.
A license plate check revealed that the vehicle was registered to his wife Sharon in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Agent Ray also discovered that Gerald Lee Powers had a violent past and was currently wanted for questioning in the abduction and murder of Shannon Sanderson. After contacting Memphis authorities, he traveled to Hebronville to process Powers' car on site. The Chevy Beretta matched the vehicle witnesses had described at the abduction. Agents hoped something inside would link the vehicle and Powers to the murder of Shannon Sanderson. A sheet and pillowcase, along with the trunk liner, were bundled into evidence bags.
All right, let's tape this stuff up. We'll get it back to headquarters.
When you're retrieving evidence like that, you have no idea what the results of the laboratory examinations are going to be in the end. You just try to get the best and the most evidence that you can and let the lab do their job.
Agents were less hopeful they'd find something in the car's interior since it appeared to have been recently cleaned and vacuumed. Hundreds of miles from the nearest evidence response team, Agent Ray improvised with the tools he had at hand.
One item that we needed to search for were hairs and fibers in the back seat area. We didn't have the specialized equipment that the evidence response team would have, and so I used an unopened lint roller that I had at the office of the type one might use on a suit as an adhesive lift.
Initially obscured by the front seat, the agent found a pink artificial fingernail on the floor. It was similar to those the victim had worn at the time of her abduction. Memphis prosecutor Jerry Kitchen believed this could be the clue that could definitely place Shannon Sanderson in Powers' car.
Agent Ray had called us and told us that he had found a fingernail in the back seat area of the floorboard of this vehicle, which is where we had felt that, based upon the witnesses' information they had given us, that the victim had been placed in the back seat of the vehicle that took her away.
Memphis authorities came to Laredo to question Gerald Lee Powers about the murder. Powers told them that he knew nothing more than what he'd heard on the news. He admitted to being at the casino that night, but had left early to check on his terminally ill neighbor. While the interview continued, investigators spoke to his neighbor in Clarksdale, Mississippi, who denied that Powers had been there at that time.
We weren't 100% convinced Gerald Powers was our suspect. We just felt it was kind of suspicious that he was trying to give a false alibi, and that, of course, the neighbor was very ill and could have been mistaken because he had been there at different times.
Investigators hoped that Powers' wife, Sharon, might be able to corroborate the neighbor's statement. She had initially told police her husband fit the description of the suspect who witnesses glimpsed at the abduction. A man who wore a red baseball cap. Now she added that he made frequent trips to the casino where the victim had spent her last night. Still, she did not know if he had visited their neighbor that night, and denied that her husband had anything to do with the abduction and murder of Shannon Sanderson.
He treated you okay? Oh, yeah.
Investigators feared they might just be wasting their time. But FBI Special Agent Jennifer Aiken wasn't so sure.
We sensed her ambivalence. We knew that she, had come forward, even with her kind of half-hearted story. We knew she'd come forward for a reason and that there was more she needed to tell. Seconds later, Gerald Lee Powers.
Agent Aiken realized that she would need to invest a great deal of time to develop the trust of Sharon Powers.
It's tremendous.
As the dialogue with Sharon Powers continued over several weeks, the FBI contacted Tom Scott, director of surveillance at the casino where the victim had gambled prior to her abduction. Scott was asked to confirm if Gerald Lee Powers had been recorded that same night on any of the 600 cameras in the 95,000 square foot casino.
Jennifer Aiken from the FBI gave us a basic description of what the suspect possibly was wearing on the night in question. And that's what we went with as a general description, from color shoes to jeans to a certain type jacket and possibly a ball cap. Any given day, you can have approximately 3,000 to 10,000 people within a casino.
Scott and his team searched hundreds of hours of footage, looking for a man in a red baseball cap and yellow shirt. Their main focus was the blackjack table where Shannon spent most of the night.
If the suspect was stationary, it's pretty easy. But in a casino, it's quite an exciting place to be in, and everybody kind of wanders around. And they go to slot machine to slot machine, or restaurants, or table games. We could not locate the individual.
Investigators looked to Sharon Powers for more detail about her husband's activities that night. They did what they could to make her feel comfortable. One of her neighbors, a police officer, provided her with reassurance and support. She was a woman, torn between her empathy for the victim and her feelings towards her husband.
She was in love with this man. I think it was difficult for Sharon to accept the fact that the victim had been a mother of 3 young children. She herself was a mother of 3 children, and very much related to the victim.
Slowly, Sharon Powers worked through her internal conflict. She began to open up, revealing what her home life was like with her husband, Gerald Lee Powers. She said he ruled the house. Her 3 kids from previous marriages were afraid of him. Sharon admitted that she was too. He kept a bell on his chair. When he rang it, Sharon came running. Despite his controlling temper, her feelings for him were deep.
This is a woman who had really kind of lived under the thumb of Gerald Lee Powers for a number of years. I believe by then they had been married 4 or 5 years. And she, I don't want to say liked it that way, but that was what she was used to. That was familiar. It was not familiar to her to be breaking with him, to be disloyal.
Despite her fear, Sharon continued to open up to investigators. On April 19th, the day Shannon Sanderson was abducted, Gerald came home acting nervous.
Shut up and sit down.
Sharon was angry because she thought he'd spent the night with another woman.
What's on your shirt? Don't worry about it.
She noticed blood on his shirt and a cut on his arm.
Blood.
He claimed he'd fallen down at a casino he'd been visiting.
Do you remember what color the shirt was?
Sharon didn't believe what he told her, but she didn't press it. For now, Sharon refused to say any more, and neither would her husband. Without something stronger, prosecutor Jerry Kitchen would be unable to press charges on Gerald Lee Powers.
We still didn't have anything concrete that he had been involved in. It was just instinct. I think that was leading us at this point that he was our man, but at the time we did not have the results back from the lab.
Investigators hoped the FBI would reinforce their hunch that Gerald Lee Powers was responsible for leaving Shannon Sanderson's children motherless. In the summer of 1996, after Gerald Lee Powers was indicted for assaulting a Border Patrol officer in Texas, the FBI and Memphis investigators suspected he was also responsible for the murder of a 25-year-old mother of 3. But lacking physical evidence, Memphis prosecutor Jerry Kitchen was unable to charge Powers for his involvement, or to know for certain if one of the victim's former lovers had hired him to commit the crime.
There was always that possibility. The way she was killed and the manner in which she was abducted, that it appeared like it wasn't just something random, that it had been something planned. All the other suspects that appeared to have a motive or possibly emotional reasons why someone would want to have someone killed, like jealousy or rage or other factors.
What river?
Investigators hoped the suspect's wife, Sharon Powers, could tell them more. Though reluctant at first, after many meetings over several weeks, Sharon grew more comfortable. She finally opened up to FBI Special Agent Jennifer Aiken.
When she finally told the story in its entirety, what we heard was really a chilling tale of his stalking of the victim and the abduction of the victim, and then taking her to this rural area and robbing her of not only the $5,000 that she had won that night, but also of the jewelry that she was wearing.
Sharon's story was strong, but without corroborating evidence, it would not be enough to convict or even indict Gerald Lee Powers for murder. Trying to help, she told investigators that her husband had thrown the murder weapon, a handgun, into an abandoned canal near the casino in Mississippi. Memphis Police Captain Richard Rolson accompanied local divers to help search for the handgun.
Sheriff's Department's divers dove into this hole and crawled inch by inch searching for this pistol. We never did locate it. And then that's when Miss Powers told us that he had thrown it into the river, which was about 100 yards away. The current at that location was too swift for anybody to dive in the Mississippi River.
It left investigators with more doubt and no corroboration that Sharon Powers was telling them the truth. The suspect's wife also told them about a school bus driver from Mississippi whom her husband believed had seen him close to where he dumped Shannon's body.
Did you happen to notice the driver for us?
No, I didn't notice.
Police tracked down the driver who confirmed Sharon's story. At 7 a.m., about 2 hours after Shannon Sanderson had been abducted, the driver noticed a maroon Chevy Beretta backing down the dirt roadway of the vacant property where the victim's body was later found. The bus driver remembered it because the property had been vacant for so long.
Okay, that's what we need to know.
But the driver didn't see who was in the car and didn't get the license plate.
But I did notice the car.
Searching for further corroboration, investigators turned to Tom Scott, director of surveillance at the casino. This time, Sharon Powers provided them locations of where to look for her husband in the 95,000 square foot casino.
We did a recreation and did a walkthrough on where, if we were the suspect, where we would have gone through certain areas. And we pulled some tapes. Eventually, we were able to identify just from his shoes in a particular location where the suspect was standing. We pulled a bunch more shots, connected the shoes. We finally put some legs to the shoes, and we're able to identify a person in a distant shot walking through the casino from the upstairs looking down towards the suspect. We then connected more shots and followed the suspect down an escalator, walking past the table where the victim was playing, and followed the suspect out through our front door on videotape.
The video was compelling and confirmed Gerald Lee Powers was in the casino that night, but it didn't prove that he had abducted or murdered Shannon Sanderson. Hoping for physical evidence that would connect Powers to the victim, investigators searched behind a tavern in Mississippi where Powers' wife claimed he had buried the victim's jewelry. The suspect had told her they were wrapped in tinfoil under a couch in the back. Just as Mrs. Powers described, investigators located a small bundle of foil. Inside, they found pink plastic wrap holding rings identified by the victim's husband as belonging to Shannon. Now they needed to prove forensically that Gerald Lee Powers had in fact been the one who wrapped them. Investigators went to Powers' home to search for the source of that plastic. In the kitchen, they found a roll of pink wrap. They forwarded the roll along with the bundled rings to the lab for comparison. While they waited for the results, investigators turned their attention to the pink artificial nail found inside Powers' car after he was arrested in Texas. From autopsy photos, investigators found at least 2 nails were missing from the victim's hand. If the nail from the car matched those remaining on the victim's hand, it would prove that Shannon had been in Powers' car that night. But there was a problem. Shannon had already been buried, and her husband was against exhuming her remains.
She had already been interred, and so we had a hearing in court to have her disinterred and to have the ability to examine these fingernails to see if they were in fact her fingernails or not.
Against her husband's wishes, the judge ordered the body exhumed. In early July, 3 months after the murder, investigators retrieved the body of Shannon Sanderson. Her remaining artificial nails were removed and sent to the lab for comparison with the others. The results were negative. The nail in the car wasn't hers. Investigators hoped the other evidence at the FBI lab in Washington, D.C. would provide more promising results. Inside the tinfoil ball recovered in Mississippi, examiners removed the pink plastic wrap wound tightly around some rings. The FBI needed to connect the rings physically to Gerald Lee Powers. To do so, examiners compared the plastic they were wrapped in to the sample retrieved from Powers' home.
The FBI agent who examined it indicated that it wasn't the exact piece that was torn off, but that it matched that roll exactly as far as the polymers and the dye and all that, which showed that this was the source that the material had come from that was wrapped around the rings.
It was the first piece of forensic evidence linking Powers to the victim. But the case was by no means complete. More compelling proof came from a single fiber among several found in Powers' otherwise immaculate car.
We have dress fiber that was found in the vehicle that he was driving that night that matches the fiber from the dress that the victim was wearing. And that was very significant as well.
Authorities were convinced that Gerald Lee Powers had murdered Shannon Sanderson, but they weren't convinced he'd acted alone. They believed it was possible that others from her past could claim a motive for wanting Shannon dead. Memphis prosecutor Jerry Kitchen decided to confirm it with Powers himself.
So we went to Laredo to interview the defendant before we charged him with this murder. And there was the possibility, if he cooperated and was able to prove to us that someone else was involved, that we would withdraw seeking the death penalty. But there was nothing that he was able to provide us with, so we were convinced then at that point that no one else had been involved in her abduction and murder, and proceeded with charging him alone.
Powers had plenty of time to contemplate this murder. He watched her for several hours in the casino, then followed her for another hour back to Memphis. He had ample time to change his mind. Instead, he hardened his resolve.
Get out of there!
He abducted a mother of 3, robbed her, then shot her at point blank.
Get in there!
The criminal court in Tennessee didn't need much time to decide Powers' fate. After deliberating only 15 minutes, the jury recommended death for the murder of Shannon Sanderson. Gerald Lee Powers awaits execution at Riverbend Maximum Security Institution in Tennessee. Biloxi, Mississippi. A quiet southern town with a burning core of corruption. In 1987, its secret burst violently to the surface, leaving 2 prominent citizens dead and ripping the top off a grand conspiracy.
On Mississippi's Gulf Coast, a judge and his politician wife are murdered in their home. The killer left few clues. It looked like a professional hit, and the investigation led nowhere. But the FBI refused to give up. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. Until we could prove that federal laws had been broken, our hands were tied. It would take years to break the conspiracy of silence and reveal the tangled tale of corruption.
Biloxi, Mississippi. Monday, September 14th, 1987. It was a typically warm summer night in this quiet Gulf Coast town. The workday was over, and most residents had retreated to the tranquility of their homes. Like most of their neighbors, State Circuit Court Judge Vincent Sherry and his wife Margaret were unwinding after a long day. Vincent Sherry was a prominent judge in Biloxi. Margaret was making plans to run for mayor. Both were fixtures at Biloxi's social and community functions. They were a happy couple who had raised 3 grown children. Tomorrow they planned to visit their daughter out of state. Their life together seemed ideal. They were just settling in for the night when an unexpected visitor came to the door.
What are you doing here with that?
And brought their perfect world to an end. The Sherrys were supposed to be with their daughter, so no one realized anything was wrong until 2 days later when the judge failed to show up in court on Wednesday, September 16th. Calls to the Sherrys' home went unanswered.
I'm sorry we can't take your call, but leave your message after the beep.
His colleagues at the court phoned Pete Halat, Vincent Sherry's friend and former law partner.
Morning, Pete Halat.
But he hadn't seen or heard from the judge either.
Well, he's supposed to be in court. When did he leave? I don't know. All right, no, wait, you let me call him at home and I'll figure out where he is.
After he left a concerned message on the Sherry's answering machine, Halat felt he'd better check on his friend personally.
Oh, I got the machine. Judge, it's Pete. They're looking for you in court. Is everything okay?
On his way out, he asked his junior partner, Charles Legier, to ride with him.
Charlie, hold on, time to saddle up. But I need some help, so let's go. Let's go.
Listen, I'll give you a call back, okay? Yeah, bye-bye.
I figure if we go together, the two of us can fine.
As they drove, Legier tried to make conversation. Halat seemed distant, perhaps concerned about the judge. Both of the Sherry's cars stood in the driveway.
Well, cars here.
I don't like it. Well, there's cars here. He's supposed to be in court.
Halat asked Legier to go to the house, while he asked a neighbor if she'd seen the couple.
Just go ahead.
Legier rang the doorbell, but no one answered. He saw that the last 2 morning newspapers hadn't been picked up.
Pete Halat. I'm a partner.
The neighbor told Halat she hadn't seen the Sherrys for a couple of days, which she thought was odd since both of their cars were in the driveway. When Legier tried the Sherry's door, he found it unlocked. Something wasn't right.
Hey, Pete! Pete!
That's unusual.
Yeah, I was just knocking on it and the door opened up.
Halat, concerned by the open door, cautiously stepped inside. A few steps in, he made the gruesome discovery. Judge Sherry had been gunned down in his own home.
What's wrong?
They called the police. Authorities arrived to find the body of Vincent Sherry at the front of the house. In the back bedroom, they discovered Margaret. Because the couple was so prominent, the murder investigation became top priority. Detectives contacted the FBI's Biloxi field office. Though the FBI would not yet be officially involved, they offered the use of their agents and forensic laboratory. Inside, the police began scouring the crime scene for clues. They conducted blood spatter analysis to determine projectile angles. If they could figure out where the murderer had stood when he fired the shots, they might be able to reconstruct the crime. Inspector Robert Burris, a crime technician with the Biloxi Police Department, helped process the scene. He discovered a possible clue in the den.
There was blood trailing from his feet, actually going down between his legs a little ways, back to where he was laying. There was blood spatter on a double sliding glass door that was right beyond his head. And further examination in this room, I found some small pieces of foam rubber.
Burris didn't see where the foam rubber could have come from.
3 shell casings. You want to get those?
A search of the house led him to one conclusion.
Now, this foam rubber had to have been brought into the house. We examined every piece of material in this house, in every room of the house, all pillows, mattresses, everything else. There's no foam rubber tore up in this house. It was brought into the house. It does have gunshot residue on it. And basically about the only way it can get there is for a bullet to be fired through it.
For Burris, the significance of the foam rubber was obvious. The killer had used a homemade silencer. Investigators dusted for fingerprints, but found none of any value. They found 9 spent .22 caliber shell casings from a semi-automatic pistol, as well as the bullets used to murder the Sherrys. The position of the shells indicated that the shots had been fired in rapid succession. But most striking was how well the killer had covered his tracks. Nothing at the scene pointed to the killer's identity.
So what do you
He
think?
did his job well, and his mission was clear.
The lack of evidence in this house, such as items stolen, a struggle occurring, the absence of forced entry, no ransacking going on in the house whatsoever, A person came there for one thing, that was to kill the two Sherrys.
Special Agent Keith Bell from the Biloxi FBI field office agreed that this was a professional job. The Sherrys had been assassinated.
The crime scene appeared to be very limited as far as evidence remaining, which meant it was well planned, well executed, and professionally done. A small caliber weapon had been used. The foam rubber indicated that perhaps a silencer had also been used, and the Sherrys had been shot in the head, so it seemed to be a very professional job.
A multi-agency task force was assembled with Special Agent Keith Bell among its members. Investigators would spend days processing the crime scene. They grappled with a single question. Why had the Sherrys been murdered?
That was one of the main questions, that being why were both Judge Sherry and Margaret Sherry murdered? Because it was fairly obvious that Judge Sherry could have been killed during his morning or afternoon jogs around the neighborhood. So it was a real mystery why Margaret had been killed.
Investigators believed the answer might lie in the controversy over Biloxi's future. Some civic leaders hoped to transform the sleepy southern town on Mississippi's Gulf Coast into a flashy resort where casinos would attract tourist dollars. But with strip clubs already established in town, Margaret Sherry felt Biloxi's small-town charms were threatened. And the casinos would attract a criminal element. As a candidate for mayor, she had made powerful political enemies by trying to keep gambling out. Agent Bell wondered if Margaret was killed to silence her protests.
Margaret had been so outspoken politically in the community. She was known to be anti-gambling. And if elected mayor in 1989, she had planned to close down the remaining strip clubs in Biloxi. So there was always the possibility that she might have been the target, rather than Judge Sherry.
The task force would investigate Margaret's political enemies, but first, they'd question the Sherrys' friends and neighbors. Someone in the neighborhood must have seen something. But even people who'd known the Sherrys for years were reluctant to talk, fearing the specter of Biloxi's emerging criminal underworld.
The Sherry murders brought a dark cloud over the city of Biloxi. Many of the citizens in Biloxi were afraid to openly express their opinions. They saw that Margaret Sherry, who had been quite vocal and quite outspoken in political circles, had ended up dead, as had her prominent husband, Judge Sherry. So many citizens after these murders were hesitant even to be interviewed by FBI agents or by local police officers because they basically did not want their names tied into anything to do with this case.
If people wouldn't talk to the authorities, perhaps they would talk to Lynn Sposito, the Sherry's daughter. After being notified of her parents' murders, Lynn rushed to Biloxi from her home in North Carolina. Determined to find justice, she questioned everyone in the neighborhood. One family friend gave her a crucial piece of information. He described a suspicious car and driver in the neighborhood on the night of the murders. She took the lead to the police.
They identified a man who had seen a suspicious Ford Fairmont driving in front of the Sherry home on Monday night, September 14th, 1987.
Investigators tried to determine the identity of the driver based on the witness's description. Their search came up empty. But a few days later, not far from the Sherry's home, investigators found an abandoned car a Ford Fairmont. A check on the vehicle's identification number showed it had been reported stolen the day before the murders. Police also learned that the tags on the car were not registered to the car. Realizing that this vehicle was probably the killer's getaway car, investigators towed it to a police garage to examine it further. Somewhere in the car, they hoped to find a key to the killer's identity. Less than a week after the brutal murders of Biloxi couple Vince and Margaret Sherry, investigators received their first promising lead. They recovered an abandoned car, matching the one witnesses described seeing the night of the murders. After contacting Agent Keith Bell about the discovery, investigators processed the car for clues. Inspector Robert Burris found something peculiar.
I was processing this vehicle, and one of the things I noted, the dome light had been dismantled and the bulb taken out of it. In other words, if you open the door, you ain't got no light. Both of the sun visors were in the down position. Whether you're riding around daytime or nighttime, you ain't gonna be able to see the people's face in it very well.
Investigators believed more than ever that this was the car used by the Sherry's killer. Anything found inside it was labeled, packaged, and shipped to the FBI labs in Washington, D.C. But FBI lab examiners would find nothing of evidentiary value. After Agent Bell arrived, he examined the license tag more closely. He discovered it had its own story to tell.
It was determined that the tag on the Ford Fairmont had been stolen from an abandoned vehicle in 1984, actually 3 years before these murders occurred. So what it meant was someone had removed the license plate, likely in 1984, had kept the license plate, and then when this major crime in the city of Biloxi was to occur, they pulled it off the shelf, so to speak.
With no other solid evidence, investigators hoped that following the trail of the stolen tag might lead to the killer. It was traced to an apartment complex where the original car had been abandoned 3 years earlier. Investigators contacted the apartment manager, who told them that prior to having the vehicle towed, he called a friend to come and strip it for parts. The manager's friend was a man that agents knew by name and reputation. Biloxi locksmith Lenny Sweatman. He was the last person to be seen near the car. Sweatman belonged to a loosely organized group of criminals the FBI was investigating in connection with another case. The group was known as the Dixie Mafia. FBI agent Keith Bell had connected the car used in the Sherry killings to Lenny Sweatman. Now, Bell wondered if the Dixie Mafia was linked to the Sherry murders. If Sweatman had a part in it, Bell believed that other Dixie Mafia members couldn't be far behind. He began looking into Sweatman's associates.
What that meant to us immediately, those of us familiar with the criminal associations on the coast, was that if Lenny Sweatman was involved in getting the tag for the hit car, then quite likely his close personal friend and longtime associate Mike Gillich, the strip club owner in Biloxi, might also be involved in these murders.
Oh, that's all right. Sometimes you know how it is. Oh, thanks.
Have a beer.
All right.
Gillich, who owned 3 strip clubs in Biloxi, was well known to local law enforcement. He was currently under investigation by the FBI in connection with a Dixie Mafia operation known as the Lonely Heart Scam.
See, he gets to him.
But Special Agent Bell needed a thread that connected the two investigations together. He started by familiarizing himself with the Lonely Heart Scam. It was run out of Angola Prison in Louisiana by a man named Kirksey Nix.
the incarcerated kingpin of the Dixie Mafia.
No, the first model.
Nix would run ads in gay magazines, asking for money to help fictional gay men get out of trouble with the law. Through the scam, Nix was hoping to generate enough money to solve his own legal problems. He was serving a life sentence for murder.
From his jail cell at Angola, he coordinated what we've been referring to as the homosexual scam, which generated hundreds of thousands of dollars from individuals around the country, as well as some people in Canada. With this money, he intended to buy his way out, or attempt to buy his way out, of his Louisiana prison sentence.
Believing that they were helping gay men out of trouble, people who read the magazine ads would wire or mail money to a nearby Western Union. Nix would then call his contact on the outside, Mike Gillich. Gillich would then dispatch his bagman to retrieve the money.
Right. See you later.
Gillich made sure that the scam money was distributed to Dixie Mafia members and safely stashed away for Kirksey Nix.
Take care.
In the coming months, investigators developed more evidence in the Lonely Heart scam, but still had no direct link between these conspirators and the Sherry's killers. A year into the investigation, the murder case threatened to stall.
Hi.
Come in.
As the years stretched to 16 months, the Sherry's daughter, Lynn Sposito, grew increasingly frustrated. In January 1989, she hired a private investigator to rev up the inquest into her parents' murder.
He said he could make out the man.
And I'll give him a call, and I'll be on this case this afternoon.
The family had wanted very much to have a quick resolution to the case, but by early 1989, there'd still been no arrest. And of course, at this point, the FBI had not formally entered the case.
Nice to see you. Thank you for seeing
The lack of official FBI involvement hampered Bell's investigation. So when the private investigator paid him a visit, Bell welcomed his assistants, hoping they could share information. The two were old acquaintances from the private investigator's days in law enforcement. Since Agent Bell was unable to act officially, the private investigator would pursue a lead that looked promising. He would interview another Angola inmate. The private investigator and Bell hoped the inmate at Angola could finally link the Lonely Heart scam and the Sherry murders.
He met with all the right people, and because of his knowledge of the Dixie Mafia and from what he had learned from law enforcement authorities on the coast, he did go over to Angola and did talk to the right person over there.
The inmate's name was Bobby Joe Fabian. He was another known member of the Dixie Mafia, doing time for kidnapping and shooting a state trooper. Fabian claimed he had not been involved in the Sherry murders, but he had learned that fellow inmate Kirksey Nix had been. Fabian told the private investigator that Nix had had Judge Sherry killed because Sherry had allegedly stolen money from Nix's Lonely Heart scam. That wasn't all. He said Nix had been told of the theft by none other than Pete Halat, Sherry's former law partner. Halat, the man who had delivered the eulogy at the Sherry's funeral, was now implicated in their murders. Halat officially represented Nix on legal matters, but Fabian said Halat's role in the Lonely Heart scam was criminal, not legal. Halat was one of the people receiving money from Nix for safekeeping through Mike Gillich's bagman.
Don't forget to pick up next week at the other place.
And the ties between the outlaw and the lawyer went deep. Kirksey Nix's girlfriend and accomplice, LaRae Sharp, worked in Halat's office. Fabian said both LaRae Sharp and Pete Halat were stashing money from the scam in a safe deposit box for Kirksey Nix. And he said the amount had reached 6 figures. Thanks to Fabian, the link between the murders and the Lonely Heart scam had been made. And not only had Fabian given investigators a possible motive for the killings, he was also able to supply the name of the alleged hitman, an ex-con named John Ransom, who was believed to be living in Georgia. But tracking down Ransom would take time.
Anytime law enforcement people get together and start talking about notorious Dixie Mafia members, John Ransom comes up quite early in the conversation. He's a longtime alleged hitman for the Dixie Mafia.
In August of 1989, 2 years after the Sherry murders, Agent Bell now had enough evidence to warrant a full FBI investigation into the killings. Accompanied by the Sherry's daughter, Lynn Sposito, he approached the United States Attorney and the FBI with a demand to officially open the case.
So with the tying in of the scam to the murders, we knew we had some federal violations involved. We have wire fraud, we had mail fraud, and we perhaps had a hitman traveling from Georgia to Mississippi to kill the Sherrys. It was decided to open an official FBI investigation and join with local authorities in the investigation.
By now, however, suspect Pete Halat, Judge Sherry's former law partner, had been elected mayor of Biloxi. With a key suspect in such a high position, investigators encountered new roadblocks.
It became very difficult for the FBI to share all of its information with the local authorities. We are not saying that the local police were corrupt. What we are saying is that Mayor Halat put his own people in as Director of Public Safety and as Police Chief, so we were somewhat circumspect on what we shared with local authorities during that time period.
In August of 1989, as investigators attempted to unravel the truth about the Sherry's murders, informant Bobby Joe Fabian made a surprise move. He told his story about the Sherry murders to the TV news. Fabian hoped that by bringing attention to himself, Kirksey Nix would be less likely to have him killed for cooperating with authorities. Along with the report, the station broadcast a mugshot of John Ransom, the alleged hitman in the Sherry case. When Charles Legier, Pete Halat's junior partner, saw the photo, it surprised him. He recalled seeing Ransom outside the Sherry Halat law offices a few weeks before the murders. Legier shared his information with the task force. Major Randy Cook of the Harrison County Sheriff's Department took Legier's statement.
Legier said the reason he remembered Ransom was Ransom stepped off of a curb and came up to him and asked him where's Vince Sherry's office at. When Legier was interviewed, he recalled there was something unusual about the way Ransom stepped off of the curb. Ransom had a prosthesis on one leg.
Investigators learned that Ransom was now in a Georgia prison, serving time for another murder. When questioned about the Sherry murders, he refused to cooperate. As Cook further questioned Legier about the day he and Halat had found the bodies, an important detail emerged. Legier remembered that Halat had walked into the Sherry's living room, seen Judge Sherry's body, and said, "Vince and Margaret are dead." Cook relayed this to Agent Bell.
What was interesting was that Margaret's body was in the far back bedroom of the residence, and according to Chuck Legier, Pete Halat did not have time other than to briefly enter the front of the house and would have no way of knowing that Margaret's body was also in the very back bedroom.
In October of 1989, 2 years after the murders, Agent Bell knew Halat was involved, but he still lacked enough evidence for an arrest. Even so, he felt it was time to confront Mayor Halat. It would be a quiet warning, man to man.
And I let Mayor Halat know that I thought his knowledge of the Sherry murders was much greater than what he had shared with law enforcement authorities up to that point. And I recall also telling him that the FBI would continue working on this case until it was totally solved. My recollection is he smiled and did not have much else to say.
As a lawyer, Halat knew Bell would need more concrete evidence in order to secure a conviction. What he likely didn't realize was the depth of Bell's commitment to bring him to justice. Three years had passed since Judge Vincent Sherry and his wife Margaret were murdered in their Biloxi, Mississippi home. FBI Special Agent Keith Bell had connected the killings to members of the Dixie Mafia and to Judge Sherry's friend and one-time law partner, Pete Halat. The alleged trigger man, John Ransom, was refusing to talk. In January of 1990, Agent Bell and Major Randy Cook of the Harrison County Sheriff's Department drove to the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary to question another possible accomplice.
This is Special Agent.
A man named Bill Rhodes. Rhodes, a known associate of John Ransom, was willing to cooperate. He told them that in early 1987, Ransom had contacted him about driving the getaway car in a crime to take place in southern Mississippi. Ransom had said a judge would be murdered and that the pay was $10,000.
There were certain promises made to Rhodes by Ransom that I know certain people in Biloxi that if you'll help me on this and you'll have the run of Biloxi anytime you want it.
So in March of 1987, Rhodes went to Biloxi and met with Ransom and a man named Pete. It was Pete who specifically asked Rhodes and Ransom to do the hit. Rhodes said he also met with Mike Gillich, the Biloxi strip club owner, who would supply the money once the hit was done. But 5 months later, before they could do the job, Rhodes was arrested on an unrelated bank robbery charge, and Ransom got cold feet, afraid Rhodes would turn on him. The information helped the case inch forward, but Agent Bell and Officer Cook still felt that Ransom held the missing pieces. Another year would pass without much progress. In late 1990, the investigators went to the Bostic Correctional Institute in Georgia, where Ransom was serving time. Finally, Ransom agreed to talk. He admitted that he delivered a .22 caliber pistol to Lorraine Sharp, Kirksey Nix's girlfriend. But Ransom insisted that he did not do the job. Based on what Ransom said, Lorraine's involvement was starting to look bigger than simply stashing scam money in a safe deposit box.
All finished?
Finished, thank you.
Through his contact with Sharp, Nix learned that the investigation was heating up. He worried that his girlfriend might talk, so he tried to head off the problem by putting out a contract on her life. But in late 1990, Agent Bell arrested her for her participation in the murders, inadvertently saving her from Nix's gunman. During a polygraph test, Sharp denied her involvement in the Lonely Heart scam and the Sherry murders. But the machine called her bluff. When Bell and his team added her statements to their existing stacks of evidence, they were ready to bring indictments against several key players. Mike Gillich, John Ransom, LaRae Sharp, and Kirksey Nix were charged as conspirators in the Sherry murders. Notably missing from the list was Pete Halat. The case against Halat would have to wait until they had enough evidence for a murder conviction. For now, the FBI would look to convict the others on conspiracy to commit murder.
So many of the questions came up, why didn't y'all indict Pete Halat early on when you indicted everybody else? Well, at the time, we didn't have the hard evidence that you would have to arrest a mayor and prosecute him.
The conspiracy trial produced several key witnesses that would help investigators piece together the complex scheme.
Mr. Gant, you stated that all these people here
Robbie Gant, Gillich's bagman for the Lonely Heart scam, testified for the prosecution. His testimony helped prosecutors link the Sherry murders to the scam. All 4 defendants were found guilty. Nix was given 15 years in addition to the life sentence he was already serving for murder. Gillich also received a 15-year prison term. Ransom got 10 years, and LaRae Sharp 1.
I'll tell you before. Get your hands on order in the court.
With these conspirators behind bars and the Lonely Heart scam no longer operational, Bell moved on to his next objective.
We decided not to end the Sherry investigation after the 1991 initial convictions because at that time we had not proven who had actually shot the Sherrys, and also Pete Halat had not been indicted or convicted at that point, and we all felt strongly that Pete Halat had played a major role in the scam and in the murder plot. So we were determined to continue the investigation to see if we could get enough evidence to indict and convict Mr. Halat and the actual shooter.
In late July of 1992, Agent Bell got the break he was looking for. Following the conspiracy trial, Mike Gillich was desperate to find a way out of prison. He contacted one of his associates in Biloxi and asked him to approach Robbie Gant with an offer. Gant told Agent Bell about it.
And the associate had offered Robbie Gant $20,000 if Gant would recant his testimony against Gillich and sign a false affidavit stating that he had been threatened by me to testify against Gillich, to testify falsely against Gillich.
Gant agreed to wear a wire and get the offer from Gillich's accomplice on tape. Gant met with him in Mississippi. This time, Gant's tape was rolling when Gillich's associate reiterated the bribe. Gant accepted as Bell had instructed. Now, Bell had the evidence he needed to turn up the heat on Gillich. Just the man who could tell the story from the inside. By 1993, 6 years after the double murder of Vince and Margaret Sherry, FBI agent Keith Bell had put 4 members of the Dixie Mafia behind bars. But he still had no formal murder convictions against those involved. And Mayor Pete Halat, the suspected mastermind of the case, was still free and running the city of Biloxi. In fact, the year before, Mayor Halat had broken ground on the city's first big casino.
The victory for our town and our people.
The press still hounded Halat about his involvement in the Sherry murders, but he remained adamant about his innocence. Bell continued to work his plan. He used the bribe Robert Gant had recorded on tape to level another charge against Mike Gillich, already in jail. Now Bell indicted Gillich for witness bribery and witness tampering for trying to buy off Gant. And that did the trick.
No doubt the most important turning point was in October of 1993 when Mike Gillich finally decided to cooperate and tell the story of this whole case from an insider's point of view. And that's what really allowed us to bring final resolution to this investigation.
After the years of painstaking work Bell had spent on the case, it was a satisfying moment. Finally, it seemed his patience and ingenuity were paying off. Gillich was in no hurry to accrue more jail time. Bell's relentless pressure had persuaded him to cut a deal before the bribery trial even began. The Dixie Mafia member would tell what he knew about the murders.
Mr. Gillich has...
Maybe now, Bell could get the convictions he knew were long overdue. But for a career criminal like Mike Gillich, adjusting to life on the right side of the law wasn't easy. At first, he tried to bluff his way out.
Of course, it always takes some time, a period of weeks, to develop some degree of trust and to be able to communicate with someone like this who, for the first time, has decided to leave his lifelong role as a criminal and start cooperating with the FBI.
When deception didn't work, Gillich had no alternative. He had to tell the truth. Now, for the first time, Bell heard the story from an inside source. Gillich knew all the details.
Mike was the center point. Mike knew Kirksey Nix. Mike knew Pete Halat for years. And in fact, when Kirksey Nix was looking for an attorney over in the coast area to represent him on various matters, Mike Gillich introduced Nix into Pete Halat.
He confirmed that Pete Halat was indeed behind the plan to murder the Sherrys, and that the plot grew directly out of the Lonely Heart scam of Angola prison inmate Kirksey Nix. Some months before the Sherrys' deaths, Halat had closed the safe deposit box he and Nix's girlfriend LaRae Sharp had access to, effectively cutting off her access to the money. He then transferred the money into a box only he and Judge Sherry could use. Motivated by greed, he stole $100,000 cash from there. As Nix's trusted accomplice, Halat could blame the theft on Judge Sherry. Next, he went to Mike Gillich with news of the theft.
Mr. Gillich stated that Pete Halat approached Mr. Gillich himself in late 1986 and told Mr. Gillich that much of the money was missing, supposedly around $100,000. And Mr. Halat blamed Judge Sherry for taking the money. Mr. Halat knew that Kirksey Nix would be very furious about this.
It is not known who ordered Margaret's death, but as a fierce opponent of corruption, she posed a threat to the underworld forces hoping to control Biloxi. With Margaret dead, Halat could be free to run the town. Gillett said that he and Halat planned the murders. Ransom and Rhodes provided the murder weapon. But when they passed on doing the hit, Gillett found a replacement. A Texas-based petty criminal named Thomas Holcomb. Holcomb would be paid $20,000 to murder Judge Sherry and his wife. Gillett had also helped provide the car with the help of locksmith Lenny Sweatman. In October of 1996, agents arrested hitman Thomas Holcomb in Texas on murder charges. That same month also saw the arrest that Agent Bell had anticipated and worked 9 years to achieve.
I'm an innocent man, and you're going to put the cuffs on me?
Let me read you your rights.
The arrest of Pete Halat for the murders of the Sherrys.
You can, anything you say can and will be held against you.
Kirksey Nix and LaRae Sharp were indicted on 52 counts, including fraud, money laundering, and murder. Halat was tried and convicted in the summer of 1997, a full decade after the crimes were committed. He was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Also tried and convicted were Kirksey Nix and Thomas Holcomb, the hitman. Both were sentenced to life. LaRae Sharp, Nix's girlfriend, got 5 years.
I think a lot of citizens in Biloxi now realize that there are a lot of dedicated professional law enforcement people who will do everything they can to protect the community and work hard to solve major crimes. Perhaps the legacy, you might say, of the case for the criminal element is that they realize after seeing this case that they can commit a crime one day and think they're getting away with it a year later, but it could come back 10 years later and get them.
While the Sherry's killers were finally brought to justice, Margaret Sherry's dream of a Biloxi free of gambling was never realized. Instead, Biloxi has become a resort town filled with casinos and neon lights. The sleepy southern town is gone forever, along with the woman who lost her life trying to save it.